Chapter 21-21. About half an hour passed. Even the two of them didn't know how far they had gone into the mountains. Finally, the middle-aged man stopped in the void. In the mountains below, there were countless beasts. Many of them were monarch god-level beasts, but the middle-aged man didn't care about them at all. He slowly turned around and looked at Qin Feiyang. And Qin Feiyang had also stopped. Their eyes met, and invisible sparks seemed to collide in the void. Qin Feiyang said, "Can you tell me now? Who sent you? When you go to hell, the king of hell will tell you." The middle-aged man smiled sinisterly. With a flash, he instantly landed in front of Qin Feiyang and slammed his palm toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang moved his feet and activated the Xing character art, calmly dodging. And he used a thunderous method. A wisp of blood-red light streaked across the sky and instantly arrived in front of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's expression changed, and he quickly dodged to the side. Puff! The blood-red light was like a sharp arrow, sinking into the middle-aged man's left shoulder, and a bloody hole appeared. Blood spurted out like a fountain. What is this? It can actually hurt me? The middle-aged man lowered his head and looked at the bloody hole in his shoulder, his face full of disbelief. One had to know. He was a monarch god. And the other party was just a mere perfection war god. Even if he had a legendary level deity art, he couldn't hurt him. Because deity art was a barrier that couldn't break through to the next realm. In other words, even a beginner monarch god could easily kill a perfection war god. And now, instead, he was injured. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "Do you think I dare to chase after you without any ability? To tell you the truth, countless monarch god have died in my hands." These words were not false. A few days ago in the land of the far west, he had indeed killed many monarch god puppets. However, although he looked calm on the surface, he was actually very vigilant. Because puppets and living people were two completely different concepts. Puppets were controlled by people and didn't have thoughts. But living people not only had their own thoughts, but they could also use deity arts and activate their fighting soul. And they might even have a powerful deity weapon. So you are confident. But I have to admit, it's really amazing. But today, you will still die. The middle-aged man shouted. Divine power rolled out, and a barrier was formed, enveloping Qin Feiyang. Following closely, the middle-aged man formed a seal with both hands, and a palm-sized square seal appeared. The square seal was golden in color, and there was a white tiger engraved at the bottom. It exuded a powerful aura. Let's see how you're going to hide now. Perfect deity technique, tiger taming seal. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the taming tiger seal shot up into the sky and expanded in size. In an instant, it was like a towering mountain. Golden light shone in all directions, releasing an aura that could destroy the world. Kill! A murderous aura erupted from his body. He waved his hand and the taming tiger seal came crashing down. Perfect deity formula. Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank. This was the difference between a living person and a puppet. For example, the person in front of him could pose a fatal threat to him just by relying on the cultivation of a large success divine lord and the perfect divine art. However, since he dared to come, he must have some confidence. Clang! Murderous aura rolled out from his palm, accompanied by an earth-shattering sound. A blood-red sword appeared in the sky. He grabbed the blood-red sword and slashed at the air. However, his target was not the taming tiger seal. It was the barrier that trapped him. The middle-aged man had set up the barrier to prevent him from escaping. As long as the barrier was broken, it would not be difficult for him to dodge the taming tiger seal with the deity formula. Crack! The blood-red sword's radiance tore through the sky. There was no suspense. The barrier was shattered on the spot. Immediately after, Qin Feiyang used the deity formula and disappeared from the spot in an instant. Boom! the taming tiger seal came crashing down. The void was instantly destroyed, and the ground below collapsed and sank. What? It shattered my barrier so easily? The middle-aged man was tongue-tied again. The blood-red sword, what was that? How could it have such terrifying destructive power? Clang! Just as the middle-aged man was in a daze, a blood-red sword aura came from behind him. The middle-aged man shuddered and dodged to the side without hesitation. However, the speed of the sword aura was beyond his imagination. His left arm, which was already injured, was directly cut off as the sword energy fell. Ah, the heart-wrenching pain made the middle-aged man scream like a pig being slaughtered. If you have the ability, don't hide. Fight me head-on. The middle-aged man turned around and glared at Qin Feiyang, who was standing in the air opposite him. Your cultivation is so much higher than mine, and you still want me to fight you head-on? Is there something wrong with your brain? Qin Feiyang sneered. The middle-aged man was burning with anger. That's right. His cultivation was a few levels higher than his opponent's. Moreover, there was the huge gap between the god of war and the divine lord. However, in these few rounds, he was the one who was injured. What about his opponent? He was unharmed. If it was anyone else, they would not be able to endure such humiliation. Boom! The middle-aged man's body trembled. An even more terrifying aura broke out from his body. What? Qin Feiyang was shocked. This person was not a great success, divine lord. Yes. This is my true strength, great perfection, divine lord. The middle-aged man grinned again and again, his aura fully released. This level of aura, Qin Feiyang was not unfamiliar at all. This was a great perfection, divine lord. Do you know why I hid my cultivation? It's because I want to lure you here so that I can kill you without anyone knowing. The middle-aged man laughed. Who the hell are you? Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. It hasn't been long since the last time we met. Have you forgotten me? The middle-aged man took out a facial restoration pill. Qin Feiyang looked at the facial restoration pill and then looked at the middle-aged man. It hasn't been long since the last time we met. Let me give you a hint, martial arts treasury. The middle-aged man said. Martial arts treasury. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled and said in surprise, You are Nie Kong. The middle-aged man smiled without saying a word and took the facial restoration pill in his hand. Very soon, a familiar face appeared in Qin Feiyang's line of sight. Who else could it be but Nie Kong? I see. You were afraid of arousing the lunatic's dissatisfaction, so you changed your appearance and came to assassinate me. After the assassination failed, you hid your cultivation and lured me here. In order to kill me, you really used all kinds of tricks. Qin Feiyang said. That's right. When I tried to assassinate you, I thought I could succeed, but I didn't expect you to be so vigilant. You even managed to dig him out. However, I was unwilling, so I came up with this idea at the last minute. Because I expected that with your conceit and arrogance, you would definitely come after me. Sure enough, you came after me. Do you still remember what I said back then? I will definitely avenge my brother, my father, my grandfather, and my family. And today is the day you die. Nie Kong's face was full of resentment and once again evolved the perfect divine art, tiger taming seal. Without hiding his cultivation, the power of the tiger taming seal reached its peak state. Feeling the aura of the tiger taming seal, at this moment, Qin Feiyang's heart did not have any luck. He was afraid that even the blood-colored long sword could not match it. Because Nie Kong's cultivation was one realm higher than his. He could only activate the slaughter zone. But now, it was too late to activate the slaughter zone. After all, there was no ready-made blood. Moreover, as early as the beginning of his fight with Nie Kong, the beasts in the mountains below had already fled upon hearing the news. In other words, at this moment, within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles, there was only him and Nie Kong. Are you afraid? Are you desperate? This is what you deserve. Nie Kong laughed. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, I have already said that your father and the rest were not killed by me. Besides you, who else could it be? Actually, after the bet with you last time, I also thought about it carefully. With your cultivation, it should be impossible to kill my Nie family. Because of this, I hesitated for a long time. However, just earlier, when I saw that trace of crimson light and the long sword in your hand, I finally understood that you do have the ability to do so. So, the executioner who slaughtered my Nie family is definitely you. Go and be buried with them. Nie Kong roared. The tiger-taming seal descended from the sky, carrying the power to destroy the world. It shattered the sky for hundreds of thousands of miles and headed towards Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. He hurriedly used the walk formula and quickly dodged. The tiger-taming seal blasted into the ground below. The air billowed. In an instant, everything within the range visible to the naked eye was razed to the ground. Qin Feiyang's back was drenched in cold sweat. If he did not dodge, then he would definitely be a corpse now. No. I'm afraid that not even a corpse would be left. You think you are the only one who has mastered the auxiliary divine technique? Without waiting for Qin Feiyang to recover, Nie Kong's angry roar sounded again. Qin Feiyang was shocked and hurriedly looked over. He saw Nie Kong using a strange and unpredictable footwork, rushing towards him. Compared to his previous speed, it was on a completely different level. Perfect auxiliary divine technique, ghost steps. Nie Kong laughed sinisterly. It could be said that his current speed was even faster than Qin Feiyang's walk formula. It was not to say that Qin Feiyang's walk formula was inferior to Nie Kong's ghost steps. It was because Nie Kong's cultivation was too much higher than Qin Feiyang's. How could Qin Feiyang compare with the cultivation of a consummate Sir God and the perfect auxiliary divine technique? This time, he also truly experienced the difference between a puppet and a living person. They were completely incomparable. Chapter 21-22. He could kill puppets in seconds as if he was cutting vegetables. But for a living person, unless it was an unexpected assassination, he had no chance of winning. In the blink of an eye. Die. Nie Kong laughed sinisterly. The tiger-taming seal appeared again and blasted toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's heart sank. He held the blood-colored sword in his hand and attacked. He definitely could not avoid it. As Nie Kong's speed was faster than his, he could only give it his all. As for the ancient castle and the Black Tortoise realm, he did not intend to enter them. If he did not get rid of a powerful enemy like Nie Kong as soon as possible, there would be endless trouble in the future. Therefore, no matter what, he had to kill this person today. Even if the purple gold dragon blood was exposed, he would not hesitate. Clang! Clang! Accompanied by an earth-shattering sound, the blood-colored sky and the tiger-taming seal met. True enough. The blood-colored sword shattered instantly. As for the tiger-taming seal, there was only a crack. And this crack was difficult to see with the naked eye. This was a completely overwhelming situation. The tiger-taming seal was full of murderous intent as it charged toward Qin Feiyang. In the nick of time, Qin Feiyang quickly activated the battle word manual. Once the blood-colored armor appeared, the tiger-taming seal blasted onto Qin Feiyang. Pfft! Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. Like a meteorite, he smashed into the ground below. As for the armor formed by the battle word manual, it shattered into pieces. Too powerful. This is the strength of a perfected Sir God. Compared to this, the puppets are too weak. Qin Feiyang muttered. Not only was the armor shattered, but his entire chest was also caved in. His bones were broken and his flesh was badly mangled. Even his internal organs were fatally injured. It turns out that without Lunatics' protection, you are just a piece of trash. Nia Kong's face was full of disdain. But suddenly, he noticed the blood that Qin Feiyang spat out and his eyes widened. What was going on? Why was the blood purple gold? He went forward in shock and took a closer look. His body trembled. It actually had a dragon's aura. This is the legendary purple gold dragon blood. Nia Kong's face was filled with disbelief. How could there be purple gold dragon blood flowing in this person's body? It was passed down from generation to generation. 7,000 to 8,000 years ago, there was also a human with purple golden dragon blood flowing through his veins. This person was the monstrous genius who was famous in the northern region at that time, but then disappeared. Until now, he was almost forgotten by people, Qin Badian. Nia Kong looked up at Qin Feiyang, who was slowly standing up, and asked in surprise, "What is your relationship with Qin Badian?" "He is my ancestor." Qin Feiyang grinned. "Your ancestor?" Nia Kong was extremely surprised. "It seems that my ancestor was quite famous in the northern region back then. No matter who it is, they all know of his existence," Qin Feiyang said. Although the name Qin Badian has disappeared for thousands of years, many people still remember it. Especially those from our Nine Heavens Palace. But it's really surprising that you're actually his descendant. But you still can't avoid death. Fighting soul, open. Nia Kong laughed sinisterly. With a low roar, a golden domain appeared out of nowhere. As soon as the domain appeared, it was infinitely enlarged and enveloped Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang suddenly felt an invisible force pressing down on him. His cultivation instantly dropped by a small realm. Qin Feiyang was shocked. "This is my body talent. It can deprive the opponent of a small realm of cultivation. Now that your cultivation has dropped to perfect war god, you have no chance of winning. Obediently accept your death, so that you won't suffer any physical pain. But in the end, I'll let you see my true strength." Nia Kong laughed arrogantly. He placed his hands in front of his chest and quickly formed seals. First, a golden square seal appeared. It was the tiger seal. Immediately after, another golden square seal appeared. At the bottom, there was a living golden dragon. Tiger seal, dragon seal. These two deity skills are my strongest techniques. It's your honor to die under these two deity skills. Now, you can go to hell," Nia Kong said proudly. Then, killing intent burst out from his eyes. The two divine seals cut through the sky like two mountains, one in front and one behind, attacking Qin Feiyang. That terrifying oppressive force caused Qin Feiyang to practically be unable to breathe. Sigh. However, there was a trace of regret on his face. He sighed, "I never thought of killing you. If you didn't take the initiative to provoke me, I would have even forgotten about your existence." "Why? Are you trying to gain sympathy?" Nia Kong sneered. "Sympathy? I'm not trying to gain your sympathy, I'm sympathizing with you. Isn't it good to be alive? Do you have to court death?" Qin Feiyang said. At this point, you still dare to be so arrogant. You're really stupid." Nia Kong laughed again and again. His face was full of contempt. Sigh. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He muttered, "Although I don't want to rely on you, there's no other way. Please make your move." Shwa. As Qin Feiyang's voice fell, a gray figure swept out from his body. It was the spirit of the Grey Castle. Nia Kong looked at the spirit in surprise. Because the moment the artifact spirit appeared, he felt a great sense of danger. The spirit still couldn't see its face, but the disdain for Nia Kong, whether it was Qin Feiyang or Nia Kong himself, they could clearly feel it. The spirit raised its hand and pointed in the air. Boom! A force of death suddenly roared out. Kacha! The tiger subduing seal and dragon subduing seal shattered in an instant. What? Nia Kong was dumbfounded. When he came back to his senses, he quickly turned around and fled. His previous arrogance was gone, and his face was full of fear. His perfect divine technique was shattered so easily. How strong was this person? Qin Feiyang shouted, "Don't let him escape." Nia Kong already knew his true identity. Once Nia Kong escaped, he would definitely report it to the higher-ups of Ninth Heaven Palace. If I can't even keep such a small character, then what qualifications do I have to accompany you to the Sky Dragon Sea to find Qin Badian and Lu Jingyang? The spirit sneered. The force of death suddenly turned into waves, sweeping across the sky and quickly drowning Nia Kong. My life force, my divine soul, damn it, what the hell is this? I can't accept this. Nia Kong roared angrily. His body shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye, and in 3 breaths, his life force completely disappeared. Only skin and bones remained of his physical body as he fell to the ground. This kind of trash doesn't even have the qualifications to be my puppet. The spirit said disdainfully. With a wave of its arm, the force of death retreated back into its body like a tide. Qin Feiyang swallowed a divine life pill and looked at the spirit with a smile, strong enough. Of course. The spirit smiled proudly, then asked in confusion, "Why didn't you activate the slaughter domain just now?" "I wanted to. But you also saw that there is not a single murderer nearby," Qin Feiyang said helplessly. Anyway, no matter what, he must not let the spirit know that the slaughter domain had a time limit. Although your slaughter domain is heaven-defying, its drawbacks are obvious. In a battle of life and death, the opponent will not give you the chance to absorb blood. The spirit said. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Under normal circumstances, I will not activate the slaughter domain. Indeed, it is a little too bloody. All right. The matter has been settled, I will leave first. After saying that, the spirit returned to Qin Feiyang's Qi Si. Phew. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath. The people of the Nia family were finally all eliminated, and there was one less threat in the future. He stepped forward and landed in front of Nia Kong's body. He took Nia Kong's yin and yang ring, and a smile appeared on his face. This Nia Kong's family was really rich. There were all kinds of elixirs. For example, there were hundreds of divine life pills. There were at least billions of divine gems and more than 100 million soul stones. A large part of the 100 million soul stones should be what he gave to Nia Kong. At that time, he used 100 million soul stones to exchange for the soul-gathering divine technique with Nia Kong. Originally, Nia Kong could have enjoyed the 100 million soul stones. But unfortunately, because of his stupidity, it was now back in Qin Feiyang's hands. Sure enough, it's like the old saying. It's you who can't run away, not you who can't force it. Qin Feiyang gladly put away the yin and yang ring, and then immersed his mind into Nia Kong's body. This Nia Kong must have a divine artifact. In the end, he really found a divine artifact in Nia Kong's Qi Si, but it was only a high-grade divine artifact. No wonder Nia Kong did not take it out before. After all, a high-grade divine artifact was not very helpful to a perfect Sir God. Qin Feiyang was too lazy to take it, and casually threw it into the yin and yang ring. Be a good person in your next life. Looking at Nia Kong's body, Qin Feiyang muttered. With a wave of his hand, the soil rolled and buried Nia Kong's body. He then entered the black tortoise world, washed the bloodstains on his body, changed into a clean set of clothes, and flew back to Sky Dragon City. Do you think that madman went to save Jiang Haotian? Although I didn't see madman, with his relationship with Jiang Haotian, he should have gone. Moreover, now that this matter has spread to Nine Heavens Palace, the upper echelons of Nine Heavens Palace will definitely not sit back and do nothing. That might not be the case. Don't you know how Nine Heavens Palace works? Once a disciple leaves Nine Heavens Palace, no matter what difficulties they encounter, they will not help. This Jiang Haotian is a good person. It would be a pity if he died like this. Yes. Back then, when Feng Wenhai framed him, he was still able to let bygones be bygones and forgive Feng Wenhai. It can be seen how kind he is. I just don't understand, such a kind child, why are there so many people who want to harm him? You don't know? A kind person will be bullied. Outside the North City Gate. At this moment, there was a sea of people. Everyone looked at the mountain in front of them and discussed. Time passed little by little. Suddenly, a white figure flew out from the mountain and gradually appeared in front of everyone. That is, Jiang Haotian. He's not dead. Wait, why don't I see Madman? Did he not go? If Madman didn't go, then how did he escape back? Everyone quickly went up to greet him. Qin Feiyang looked at the vast and mighty crowd with a stunned expression. He was too popular now. Chapter 21-23. When did he receive such treatment in the great Qin Empire and Forgotten Continent? He was either scolded or hunted down. Of course. He had to thank the Feng family. It was the Feng family that made him who he was today. During this period of fighting with the Feng family, not only did he gain enough benefits, but he also gained a good reputation. It could be said that he gained both fame and fortune. Qin Feiyang flew over and said shamefully, "What did I do to deserve everyone's concern?" Child, don't say that. We know that you are a good person. Some people just can't bear to see others doing well, so they always play tricks behind their backs. Don't worry, no matter what happens, we will support you from behind. Everyone laughed. Thank you. Qin Feiyang bowed deeply to everyone. You're welcome. Actually, we can't help you much. We can only support you mentally. Back to the topic. How did you escape back? Everyone was curious. Escape back? Qin Feiyang was stunned. After thinking carefully, he suddenly understood. Indeed. Mia Kong's cultivation was much higher than his. It was normal for him to think that he escaped back. That person's speed was too fast. I lost him after chasing him out of the plains. Thinking about it, I really overestimated myself. I actually chased after a great perfection divine lord? Even if I could catch up with him, I was not his match. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. A perfect divine lord died in the hands of a perfect divine lord. If this matter were to spread out, how shocking would it be? Therefore, he still had to hide it. So that's how it is. You were indeed a little too impulsive at that time. Don't do this again in the future. Fortunately, that person had some reservations. Otherwise, you would definitely be in trouble this time. Everyone advised. I will remember. Thank you again for your concern. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. All right then. Let's disperse. It's a pity that those 4 guards died too innocently. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. Guards, Qin Feiyang looked down and soon saw the corpses of the 4 guards outside the city gate. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang flickered and landed in front of the 4 corpses. He fell silent for a moment. Don't blame yourself. This is not your fault. The fault lies with the perpetrator. Sooner or later, he will suffer retribution. A few people beside him consoled him. Qin Feiyang sighed. He turned to look at the crowd and asked, "Do any of you know their families?" Everyone shook their heads. I know him. Also, I've already informed their families. They should be here soon. A black-clothed man said. Qin Feiyang looked at the black-clothed man and nodded. Fu Yong, not long after. A sorrowful cry rang out from within the city. Following closely, a group of people rushed out of the city gate. There were women, children, and the elderly. Everyone's face was filled with grief. A group of people rushed out of the city gate and headed straight here. Qin Feiyang and the others stepped aside. They are the family of these 4 people. There are old and young at home. How pitiful. The black-clothed man sighed. The others also had sympathetic looks on their faces. Fu Yong, why are you sleeping? Get up. Don't leave me and the children behind. What will we do in the future? Who the hell is it? How could he be so cruel? A few women lay on the bodies of the 4 guards, crying to the heavens and the earth, becoming a person of tears. The elderly and children next to them were also crying silently. Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people and couldn't help but sigh. He transmitted his voice, Old Zhao, prepare 4 Qinkuan bags for me. Each Qinkuan bag contains 10 million soul stones. Understood. Zhao Tailai replied. Soon. Zhao Tailai did it. Qin Feiyang walked forward, looked at the 4 women, and said, for sisters-in-law, please restrain your grief. Jiang Haotian? The 4 women looked up at Qin Feiyang. They hadn't noticed him before. When the children saw Qin Feiyang, besides sadness, there was also a trace of worship in their eyes. This matter happened because of me. I really don't know how to make it up to you. There are 10 million soul stones in each of these 4 Qinkuan bags. Take it as my apology to you. If you need any help in the future, you can come to the 9 Heavens Palace to find me. As long as it's within my ability, I won't refuse. Qin Feiyang said as he took out the 4 Qinkuan bags and stuffed them into the hands of the 4 women. What? 10 million soul stones? The 4 women were all dumbfounded. The family members beside them also had looks of disbelief. 10 million soul stones was nothing to Qin Feiyang, but for such an ordinary family, it was a huge sum of money. They probably wouldn't be able to earn so much in their lifetime. The people around were all dumbfounded. 10 million in one go. The 4 families added up to a total of 40 million. Wasn't this a little too generous? My condolences. Qin Feiyang smiled at the 4 women and turned to enter the city. Young Master Jiang, this is too much. We can't take it. The 4 women came back to their senses and hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang's back. Qin Feiyang didn't respond and disappeared into the crowd without looking back. The 4 women looked at each other, completely at a loss for what to do. This is Jiang Haotian's goodwill. Just accept it. Moreover, you all have children. These soul stones can be left to your children. That's right. With these soul stones, your children will definitely become outstanding in the future. The people around them laughed. The 4 women looked at each other, looked at the city gratefully, and finally put away the Qinkuan bags. Actually, soul stones aren't much. What? 10 million soul stones aren't much? Are you dreaming? Of course not. Actually, the most important thing is Jiang Haotian's final promise. Jiang Haotian said that if these 4 families need help in the future, they can go to the Empyrean Palace to find him. Do you think that such a promise is not worth 10 million soul stones? That makes sense. This is Jiang Haotian's promise. Not to mention 10 million soul stones, even 100 million soul stones might not be worth it. This Jiang Haotian is really a good person. I really admire him. In the future, if anyone dares to plot against him, they will be going against us. Yes. We must protect such a good person. The people exclaimed. Qin Feiyang's actions this time won the hearts of the people. When the news spread, countless people praised him. The Treasure Pavilion. In a study. Sheng Wanxiu looked at Qin Feiyang standing outside the door with a surprised expression and said, "What wind blew today? Why did it blow you here?" Qin Feiyang entered the VIP room and said with a smile, "I didn't expect Miss Shengwan to like to joke." Huh, Sheng Wanxiu laughed dryly and pointed to the tea table beside him. He said with a smile, "Please take a seat." Qin Feiyang did not stand on ceremony. He walked over and sat on the chair. "You don't come here without a reason. What do you need? Tell me." As Sheng Wanxiu spoke, he took out a can of tea leaves from the cabinet beside him. When Sheng Wanxiu opened the lid, a whiff of fragrance immediately rushed to his nose. This is, Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. The fragrance of the tea leaves was exactly the same as the tea leaves that the deputy pavilion leader had given him. The deputy pavilion leader gave this to me some time ago. He said that you like tea, so he told me that whenever you come to the treasure pavilion, I must serve you with this tea. Others don't get such treatment. Sheng Guanxiu said with a smile. Then shouldn't I feel honored? Qin Feiyang said. Of course. The deputy pavilion leader's tea leaves are priceless. Even the 10 elders of the Empyrean Palace don't have a chance to taste it. Sheng Guanxiu said with a proud smile. I'm really flattered. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. At this moment, a guard ran in hurriedly. When he saw Qin Feiyang, he was stunned. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang looked at the guard suspiciously. The guard came back to his senses and waved his hand with a smile. Nothing, nothing. Steward, since young Master Jiang has escaped safely, I'll take my leave. Okay. Sheng Guanxiu nodded. The guard turned and left, closing the door behind him. Qin Feiyang looked at Sheng Guanxiu in confusion and asked, Steward, what's going on? I heard that you were attacked not long ago. I was a little worried, so I asked him to bring some people to see if he could help you. Apparently, my worries were unnecessary. Sheng Guanxiu said. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He did not expect Sheng Guanxiu to care about him so much. Don't get me wrong. I care about you because you're now the treasure school's patron. Sheng Guanxiu said. Huh, Qin Feiyang smiled and said, even if that's the case, I can still brag about it for a while. Sheng Guanxiu rolled his eyes and said, Tell me, what's the matter? I want to find Lunatic. Help me. Qin Feiyang said. Find Lunatic? Sheng Guanxiu was stunned and frowned. Aren't you close to him? Why do you need my help? It's a long story. Anyway, I have to find him before dark. You have many spies in the treasure school. Help me. Qin Feiyang said. Sheng Guanxiu looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously and nodded. Okay. Men. The guard pushed the door open and entered again. Sheng Guanxiu said, Bring some people to find Lunatic. Yes. The guard answered respectfully and turned to leave quickly. Sheng Guanxiu looked away and asked Qin Feiyang, Is there anything else? Yes. You haven't replied to me about the divine dragon's soul, the ultimate spirit lotus, and the dragon god's flower last time? Qin Feiyang said. I've asked my master and the deputy pavilion leader about this, but they haven't given me any orders yet, so I can't make a decision on my own. Sheng Guanxiu said apologetically. Qin Feiyang was a little depressed. He said, Is it really that difficult? The dragon god's flower and the ultimate spirit lotus are small matters. I can give them to you now. But the dragon's soul, to be honest, is not a child's play. Sheng Guanxiu sighed. Chapter 21-24. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Although the divine dragon was indeed noble and rare, it was nothing to the treasure pavilion. Sheng Guanxiu fell silent. Qin Feiyang observed for a while and asked, Is there anything you can't tell us? Sigh. Sheng Guanxiu sighed and shook his head. It's not anything I can't tell you. It's just that many people don't know about the dragons. Dragons? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. Dragons. That's a super terrifying existence. Even the treasure pavilion can't afford to offend them. Sheng Guanxiu said. Dragons, Qin Feiyang frowned. This was the first time he had heard of this term. It's really inconvenient for me to reveal anything about the dragons. Moreover, I don't know much about them. If there's a chance, you can ask the deputy pavilion master. Sheng Guanxiu said. Qin Feiyang asked, Does anyone in the 9th Heaven Palace know about this so-called dragons? Of course. For example, my sister, Feng Yuan, the 10 great elders, the palace master, and the deputy palace master know about them. But you'd better not ask around because the dragons are also a taboo. Sheng Guanxiu said in a low voice. Taboo? Qin Feiyang was shocked. It seemed that the dragons were extraordinarily terrifying. Otherwise, the treasure pavilion and the Ninth Heaven Palace would not be so wary of them. Sheng Guanxiu pondered for a while and suddenly said, actually, there are dragon souls. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Sheng Guanxiu looked at Qin Feiyang and said, the treasure pavilion has ready-made dragon souls. Ready-made dragon souls? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. After all, the treasure pavilion has been around for a long time. Although we haven't hunted divine dragons, many people have brought dragon souls to trade with us. And we've bought all these dragon souls. They're now kept in the treasure pavilion. Sheng Guanxiu said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, since there are ready-made ones, then there is no need to hunt anymore. What are you afraid of? Because you are using the dragon soul to refine pills. This kind of offensive behavior will anger the dragons. Once they receive the news, not only will it bring you trouble, even our treasure pavilion will be implicated. Sheng Guanxiu said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded. Sheng Guanxiu thought for a moment and asked, should I ask the deputy pavilion master again? All right. Qin Feiyang said. Sheng Guanxiu took out the image crystal. Very soon. A white-haired old man appeared. The old man sat on a chair with a walking stick beside him. There was a kind smile on his aged face. Greetings, Vice Pavilion Master. Greetings, Senior. Qin Feiyang and Sheng Guanxiu stood up and bowed at the same time. Little friend, you're here too. The Vice Pavilion Master looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Feiyang said respectfully, Senior, please forgive us for disturbing your cultivation. It's okay. The Vice Pavilion Master waved his hand and said with a smile, you asked little Qiu to send a message to me. It must be about the dragon soul, right? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. The Vice Pavilion Master fell silent. Qin Feiyang said, if this matter really makes things difficult for you, just pretend that I didn't say anything. The Vice Pavilion Master laughed hoarsely and said, this matter is indeed a little difficult, but I really can't bear to refuse your request. Qin Feiyang was delighted. The Vice Pavilion Master said, but I have a request. Please say it. Qin Feiyang said. The Vice Pavilion Master said, you must not mention the fact that you used the dragon's soul to refine pills to outsiders. Even if you die, you must keep it to yourself. No problem. I can guarantee it. Qin Feiyang nodded without hesitation. In fact, even if the Vice Pavilion Master did not say anything, he would not take out the dragon's soul primordial spirit pill. That was because this kind of pill was too shocking. Once it was exposed, there would be endless trouble. The Vice Pavilion Master said with a smile, I still believe in your promise. Little Qiu, you can make the deal with him. Yes. Sheng Guanxiu replied respectfully. The Vice Pavilion Master looked at Qin Feiyang and said, then let's have tea together when we have time. Okay. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The Vice Pavilion Master's shadow disappeared. Sheng Guanxiu put away the image crystal and looked at Qin Feiyang. Is there something on my face? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. I'm just puzzled. Did you drug the Vice Pavilion Master? He actually helped you so much? Sheng Guanxiu frowned. This is charm. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Shameless. Sheng Guanxiu rolled his eyes and said, since the Vice Pavilion Master has spoken, then let's talk. There's no need to talk. You can name the price. I only have one request, the more the better. Qin Feiyang said. Do you think dragon souls are cabbages that can be picked up from the ground? Sheng Guanxiu was speechless. 10 million, 10 million. This Jiang Haotian is really generous. Jiutian Palace, Outer Sect. Inside a cave. Gao Xiaolong was amazed. Next to him, Gao Xiaolui said with a smile, Big Brother Jiang is a very generous person, otherwise he would not have helped us. Gao Xiaolong looked at Gao Xiaolui and found that there was an inexplicable emotion in her eyes. He said, Xiaolui, are you interested in Jiang Haotian? Gao Xiaolui was stunned and said, Brother, what are you talking about? Girl, I've watched you grow up. Do you think you can hide your thoughts from me? Gao Xiaolong said. I'm not. Gao Xiaolui lowered her head and couldn't help but blush. If you're not, why are you blushing? But thinking about it, a capable person like Jiang Haotian is indeed very attractive to girls like you. Gao Xiaolong laughed. Gao Xiaolui's face turned even redder. Especially the way Gao Xiaolong looked at her made her feel uncomfortable. Looks like my little girl is really in love. Gao Xiaolong laughed. Brother. Gao Xiaolui looked at Gao Xiaolong coquettishly. Okay. I'm not joking. But there's something I have to say to you. You have the right to like Jiang Haotian, I can't do anything about it. But I want to say, don't have too much hope. Because Jiang Haotian is not from the same world as us. His future achievements are something we can never reach. Do you understand? Gao Xiaolong said. I know. Gao Xiaolui nodded, and a trace of disappointment appeared on her face. It's good that you know. Gao Xiaolong nodded and comforted her. Of course, this kind of thing depends on fate. If you and him are fated, then no matter how big the gap between you two is, you can still walk together. In any case, let nature take its course. Gao Xiaolui pouted. That's right. Let nature take its course, don't force it. Gao Xiaolong said. Gao Xiaolui nodded. Time flew by. In the afternoon, Qin Feiyang followed behind the guard and quickly walked out of the treasure pavilion. His face was full of smiles as if he was bathing in the spring breeze. The guard asked curiously, Young Master Jiang, what did you talk about with the steward that made you so happy? It's a secret. Qin Feiyang smiled mysteriously. Where's Frenzy? He's in a restaurant, disguised as an old man. Our people have been keeping an eye on him. The guard said. Good. Activate the altar immediately. Qin Feiyang said. Activate the altar? The guard was stunned, shaking his head. There's no need for that, it's very close. Qin Feiyang laughed. With Frenzy's ability, your treasure pavilion's people won't be able to keep an eye on him, so we need to race against time. That's true. The guard nodded, activating a transmission altar. Since it's a direct transmission, there's no need for me to lead the way, I won't cause trouble for you. Okay, thank you. Qin Feiyang stepped onto the altar. The guard smiled. You're too polite, young Master Jiang, take care. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Feiyang disappeared. Just as the rumors say, he's humble and easygoing. It's hard to find someone like him in this world. No wonder even the steward was so polite to him. The guard shook his head and returned to the treasure pavilion. East City District. Inside a small restaurant. Four young men and women were lying on the ground with a bloody hole between their brows, fresh blood flowing out. On the side, a white-haired old man and a young man stood side by side. There were many people inside and outside the restaurant, looking at the old man and the young man. Their faces were full of awe. The white-haired old man looked at the four young men and women and asked the young man beside him, Kid, are you used to it? I'm used to it. The young man nodded, looking at the blood on the ground without the slightest fear. You got used to it so quickly, it seems that you're really a promising kid. Let's go, let's continue. The white-haired old man smiled, pulled the young man, and turned to walk outside. The crowd blocking the door hurriedly retreated to the side. Wait a minute. But at this moment, a voice sounded. N? Who is it? He actually dares to ask Frenzy to wait a minute? Everyone was surprised. Although Frenzy had changed his appearance, everyone present could guess his identity. Why did he find us? At the same time, Frenzy frowned and pulled Long Tianyu. Kid, let's go quickly, don't let him ruin our mood. But, Long Tianyu also heard Qin Feiyang's voice and was a little unhappy with Frenzy's attitude. Why was it that seeing Brother Haotian was like seeing a god of plague? There's no buts. Hurry up. Frenzy dragged Long Tianyu and rushed outside. Shua. At this moment, Qin Feiyang appeared in the restaurant and said angrily, "Why are you running?" "I have something to do." "So it's Jiang Haotian. The more I look at this kid, the more I like him." "Yeah, if it was someone else, who would care about you?" But he gave 10 million soul stones to the family of the 4 guards. Everyone began to discuss. They looked at Qin Feiyang with friendliness and praise. Frenzy looked at this scene and couldn't help but pout. He turned to Qin Feiyang and frowned. "What are you doing?" Qin Feiyang looked at the 4 young men and women lying in a pool of blood, then looked at Frenzy and said, "Follow me back to 9 Heaven Palace immediately." "Are you crazy? Can't tell the situation?" Frenzy raised his eyebrows. The others didn't know what Frenzy was talking about, but Qin Feiyang was well aware. Obviously. Frenzy also realized that something was wrong and didn't want to bring Long Tianyu back. Chapter 21-25. I already have an idea on this matter. Let's go back. Qin Feiyang said as he activated a teleportation altar. Frenzy was taken aback. Really? Qin Feiyang nodded and stepped onto the altar. Okay, let's go back. Frenzy's eyes flashed as he took a facial restoration pill and jumped onto the altar with Long Tianyu. Everyone, sorry for the disturbance. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled at the people in the restaurant. The 3 figures quickly disappeared. 9 Heaven Palace. On the stairway to heaven, Qin Feiyang and Frenzy walked side by side in front while Long Tianyu obediently followed behind. The stairway to heaven rumbled. This was a warning. Because Long Tianyu wasn't a disciple of 9 Heaven Palace yet. What is going on? This daddy has never seen Shangguan Fenglan care so much about someone, let alone a child. Frenzy secretly asked. This matter actually doesn't have much to do with Long Tianyu. It's the Grey Castle that attracted Shangguan Fenglan's attention. Qin Feiyang transmitted. What? Frenzy frowned. Qin Feiyang briefly explained the situation. So that's the case. I didn't expect this demonic creature to have such a deep grudge with 9 Heaven Palace. Frenzy muttered. So as long as Long Tianyu doesn't say anything, Shangguan Fenglan won't do anything to Long Tianyu? Qin Feiyang secretly said. Frenzy nodded. Then we have to tell this kid in advance. Qin Feiyang responded. The 2 immediately turned to look at Long Tianyu. Is there something? Seeing Qin Feiyang and Frenzy suddenly turn to look at him, Long Tianyu was a little confused. Do you want to die? Frenzy laughed. Of course not. Long Tianyu shook his head. Frenzy said, all right then, we will bring someone with you later. You have to listen to our arrangements, understand? Understood. Long Tianyu nodded. But in fact, he had no idea what the madman was talking about. As Qin Feiyang and Long Tianyu walked, they secretly instructed Long Tianyu. An hour later, the 3 of them finally arrived at Lotus Lake. Madman glanced at a pavilion by the lake and stopped in the air. He looked down at Long Tianyu and asked, Do you remember what we taught you? Yes. Long Tianyu nodded. Let's go then. Madman waved his hand and brought Qin Feiyang and Long Tianyu across the sky, landing on the balcony of the pavilion. Qin Feiyang looked into the room and said respectfully, Hall Master, this disciple has fulfilled his mission and brought senior brother Feng Zi and Long Tianyu back. Wait. Shangguan Fenglan's voice came from inside. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He looked at Madman and smiled bitterly. Then let's wait. In the room, Shengguan Fenglan took out the image crystal. A short while later, the phantom of the Grand Elder appeared. Shengguan Fenglan said, Madman and that child have arrived. The corner of the Grand Elder's mouth twitched as he said unhappily, it seems that Jiang Haotian's face is big. He called him back as soon as he went. Shengguan Fenglan was taken aback, then covered her mouth and laughed. You can't be jealous, right? Shouldn't I be? I've been so good to him, when has he ever given me a good face? When I talk to him, he ignores me. When I send him a message, he directly ignores me. You're saying that I, the dignified Grand Elder of Nine Heavens Palace, can't compare to a Jiang Haotian? The Grand Elder's face was full of displeasure. Shengguan Fenglan smiled and said, it's normal for young people to be a little rebellious. He's still young? The Grand Elder was speechless. Shengguan Fenglan said, although he's not young, in your eyes, he's just a child. Sigh. The Grand Elder sighed and said, interrogate them. I'll just watch from here and won't go over. All right. Shengguan Fenglan nodded and put away the image crystal. She said indifferently, come in. Qin Feiyang and Long Tianyu quickly walked in with Long Tianyu. Shengguan Fenglan looked at Madman angrily and said, you're getting more and more powerful now. Even Grand Elder and I can't persuade you. You flatter me. Madman pinched his nose and looked indifferent. He directly sat down on the chair next to Shengguan Fenglan. Shengguan Fenglan's face darkened and said angrily, did I ask you to sit? Madman was stunned and asked, I can't sit? Yes. Shengguan Fenglan gritted her teeth and glared at him. Madman pursed his lips, got up, and sat on the ground again. He said, I'll sit on the ground, okay? Shengguan Fenglan was furious. This was simply a scoundrel. Madman said impatiently, if you have something to say, say it quickly. Don't dawdle, okay? Shut up. Shengguan Fenglan shouted. Madman shrugged and looked indifferent. However, he didn't dare to say anything. He was still a little afraid of Shengguan Fenglan. Shengguan Fenglan glared at Madman and raised her head to look at Qin Feiyang. She said, you also retreat to the side. Qin Feiyang was stunned and then obediently retreated to the side. Then, Shengguan Fenglan ignored the two of them and looked at Long Tianyu. Long Tianyu was a little nervous. Because Shengguan Fenglan had been in a high position for a long time, she naturally gave people a strong sense of oppression. And Long Tianyu was only a 3-star combat emperor and a child. How could he not be nervous when facing such a terrifying existence? A moment passed. Shengguan Fenglan nodded and finally said, not bad. At such a young age, you're already a 3-star combat emperor. In time, you will definitely surpass Madman and Jiang Haotian. Him? Madman smiled disdainfully. Shengguan Fenglan suddenly stood up and said angrily, I told you to shut up. You don't remember? Don't. Continue, I won't say anything anymore. Madman quickly waved his hand. Phew. Shengguan Fenglan glared fiercely at Madman and let out a long breath. She returned to her seat and looked at Long Tianyu. She said, answer me, do you have the confidence to surpass them? Yes. Long Tianyu nodded seriously. Very good. Shengguan Fenglan nodded and said, then now, can you answer a few of my questions? All right. Long Tianyu said. Shengguan Fenglan said, you can't lie to me. You have to tell me the truth. Of course. Because grandfather taught me since I was young that children can't lie. Long Tianyu said. Shengguan Fenglan was stunned and couldn't help but laugh. What a sensible and cute child. Next. Shengguan Fenglan waved her hand. Divine power surged and a shadow slowly condensed. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at the shadow and their pupils suddenly shrank. Because this shadow was the Grey Castle. And the shadow that Shangguan Fenglan condensed was no different from the real Grey Castle. In other words, it was exactly the same. What did this mean? It meant that Shangguan Fenglan did know the Grey Castle, and she was not just familiar with it. Shangguan Fenglan looked at Long Tianyu and said with a smile, "Do you know it?" "Yes. He is the mysterious Grandpa Grey." Long Tianyu nodded. "Grandpa Grey?" Shangguan Fenglan was stunned. "Yes. It helped me, and I am very grateful to it, so I call it Grandpa Grey." Long Tianyu said. "I see." Shangguan Fenglan nodded in realization and said, "Are you very familiar with him?" "Not familiar. I have only seen him once." Long Tianyu shook his head, his small face full of regret. "Only once?" Shangguan Fenglan was stunned. "Yes. It was that time. I fainted in the far west. Grandpa Grey saved me and took care of me for a few days. When I woke up, Grandpa Grey sent me out. Since then, I have never seen Grandpa Grey again." "Beautiful sister, do you know where Grandpa Grey is? Can you tell me? I really want to say thank you to him in person." Long Tianyu looked at Shangguan Fenglan innocently. This. Shangguan Fenglan did not know how to answer for a moment. "You haven't seen it either?" Long Tianyu said with disappointment. "I really haven't seen it. I don't know where it is. If you know, can you tell me?" Shangguan Fenglan asked with a smile. "I really don't know." Long Tianyu shook his head. Shangguan Fenglan raised her eyebrows and asked, "Then why did it help you?" "I don't know." Long Tianyu said. Shangguan Fenglan said, "It helped you so much. How can you not know?" Long Tianyu lowered his head and said with grievance, "I really don't know. I also want to ask Grandpa Grey." This, Shangguan Fenglan was a little at a loss. She vaguely felt that this matter was not so simple. But thinking back, Long Tianyu was only a 13-year-old child. How could he lie? She pondered for a while. Shangguan Fenglan smiled again and said, "Tianyu, do you want to stay in Jiutian Palace?" "Of course. There are a lot of novel things here. And I heard from Brother Madman that there are a lot of treasures here that can make my cultivation stronger." Long Tianyu said with a face full of yearning. "Then your Brother Madman really didn't lie to you. I can also let you stay in Jiutian Palace, but you have to tell me the truth. Do you know where your Grandpa Grey is now?" Shangguan Fenglan said. "You actually used this kind of temptation to confuse a child. How despicable." Madman's eyes were full of contempt. In fact, he and Qin Feiyang had always been very nervous. Although they had clearly explained to Long Tianyu on the way, Long Tianyu was only a child after all. How could a child fight against Shangguan Fenglan? Let's talk about Long Tianyu. Hearing Shangguan Fenglan's words, he glanced at Qin Feiyang and Madman, then looked at Shangguan Fenglan and said, "Beautiful sister, are you doubting me?" Shangguan Fenglan froze, and her expression was a little unnatural. She was actually seen through by a child and questioned in public. It was too embarrassing. "Beautiful sister, I really don't know where Grandpa Grey is. I only remember that when I saw him that time, he was in the far west." "Why don't you go to the far west to look for him?" Long Tianyu said. Okay, I believe you." Shangguan Fenglan nodded. "This kid is good." Madman snickered inwardly. Indeed, his mind is very flexible. No wonder Grey Castle likes him so much. Qin Feiyang secretly laughed. Looking at Long Tianyu, who was at ease, the worries in their hearts were finally relieved. Chapter 21-26. After asking for a long time, she still couldn't get an answer. Shangguan Fenglan was very helpless. "Palace Master, if you don't believe us, you should at least believe a child. After all, such a young child can't possibly lie to you, right? Qin Feiyang said. Shangguan Fenglan frowned and lowered her head in silence. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and couldn't help but reveal a smile in their eyes. This woman must be very conflicted now. Should they believe Long Tianyu's words? After a long time, Shangguan Fenglan seemed to have made a decision. She looked up at Qin Feiyang and Madman and said, I want to keep Long Tianyu by my side. What? Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned. Although they had expected that Shangguan Fenglan would make an exception and keep Long Tianyu in Nine Heavens Palace, they didn't expect that she would keep Long Tianyu by her side. The nature of this was completely different. Although Long Tianyu was smart, he was still a child. But Shangguan Fenglan was different. As an old monster who had lived for an unknown number of years, he was shrewd, experienced, and had terrifying means. If Long Tianyu stayed by her side, he would be exposed sooner or later. Why? Do you have any objections? Shangguan Fenglan looked at the two and asked. No. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand and said, this kid can stay by your side because of his ancestors. How would we dare to have any objections? Yes. We can't be happier for him. Madman also nodded repeatedly. Is that so? But looking at your expressions, why do you seem a little unhappy? Shangguan Fenglan said. No. It's just a little too sudden and unexpected. However, for such a big matter, senior brother Madman and I don't have the final say. After all, we are not Long Tianyu's guardians. So, we have to ask Long Tianyu's opinion on this matter first. He's a child, we can't force him. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Shangguan Fenglan nodded, looked at Long Tianyu with a gentle smile, and asked, Child, are you willing to stay by my side? I promise that no matter what happens in the future, I will give you the best. No. Long Tianyu shook his head without hesitation. Rejected? Shangguan Fenglan was stunned and asked suspiciously, why? One had to know. With her identity and position in the Nine Heavens Palace, who knew how many people would want to follow her? I'm not familiar with you. Long Tianyu said. This reason made Shangguan Fenglan unable to refute. Because it was the truth. Even though she had long known of Long Tianyu's existence, this was the first time they had met, so they weren't familiar with one another. Madman, what do we do? Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. I think it doesn't matter. After all, whether Long Tianyu follows Shangguan Fenglan or stays in Nine Heaven Palace as an ordinary disciple, he is still under Shangguan Fenglan's surveillance. Madman thought. That's true. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. Then, he said worriedly, but Long Tianyu is still so young. I'm afraid that he won't be able to withstand Shangguan Fenglan's seduction. Speak the truth. For us to be able to help to this extent is already considered extremely benevolent. Besides, it's impossible for us to stay by his side and protect him forever. So in the future, it will depend on his own ability. Madman transmitted his voice. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang muttered. He glanced at Shangguan Fenglan and transmitted his voice to Long Tianyu. You can stay by her side, but you have to remember, no matter what she promises you, you can't reveal anything. You can't reveal any information about your grandpa Hui, do you understand? Long Tianyu glanced at Qin Feiyang. He was a little hesitant. Follow her and you will have a good future. You don't need to do anything more. You just need to keep your grandpa Hui secret. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice again. All right. Long Tianyu secretly responded. He looked up at Shangguan Fenglan and said, Pretty sister, I thought about it and decided to follow you. Why? You didn't agree just now. Shangguan Fenglan was surprised. Because you can protect me. And I can sense my mother's scent on you. Long Tianyu blinked his big eyes and said. Mother's scent? Shangguan Fenglan was stunned. Although she was in a high position and had great strength, she was still very unfamiliar with the matter of giving birth to children. Suddenly, a child ran to her and said that he had the scent of a mother. If it were any unmarried woman, they would definitely find it difficult to adapt to this situation. Long Tianyu looked at Shangguan Fenglan suspiciously and said, "Pretty sister, are you unwilling?" I'm willing. Shangguan Fenglan came back to her senses and hurriedly nodded. After chatting for a while, Shangguan Fenglan gave the order to leave. Qin Feiyang and Madman were also very tactful. They secretly exhorted Long Tianyu a few times before turning to leave. They had done everything they could. The rest was left to Long Tianyu to face. There was a saying that flowers in a greenhouse could not withstand the wind and waves. If he wanted to stand out, he had to rely on himself. After Qin Feiyang and Madman left, Shangguan Fenglan looked at Long Tianyu and said with a smile, "Tianyu, I have something to do. You go outside and play first." "Okay." Long Tianyu nodded and turned to run out. He looked here and there, his little face full of curiosity. Shangguan Fenglan stood at the door and watched for a while before returning to the room and taking out the image crystal. Soon, the first elder's image appeared. Shangguan Fenglan asked respectfully, "Did you see anything?" "What about you?" the first elder asked. Shangguan Fenglan pondered for a while and said, "To be honest, it's full of loopholes. This old man thinks so too. Long Tianyu is just a young and ignorant child." However, when faced with your questions, he was able to answer them fluently. "Why is that?" "It must be Jiang Haotian and Madman who are teaching him. There's something unusual about this." The first elder sighed. "What's going on with these two brats? You and I both know Madman's character. He never puts anyone in his eyes. He doesn't even spare a glance for those heaven-rolled disciples. But now, he's actually hanging out with Jiang Haotian?" Shangguan Fenglan frowned. The first elder thought for a while and said with a smile, "Maybe they hit it off." "Is that so?" Shangguan Fenglan muttered. The first elder suddenly asked, "Do you still remember their sparring on Turtle King Island?" "I remember. Although we didn't see it with our own eyes, I went to ask Feng Zihan later. Because at that time, only Feng Zihan had been to Turtle King Island. But Feng Zihan didn't know much." Shangguan Fenglan said. "Then who won and who lost?" the first elder asked. "I'm not sure. I heard from Feng Zihan that from the conversation between Jiang Haotian and Madman, it seems that the winner is Jiang Haotian. But Madman didn't admit it. But one thing is undeniable. Madman took special care of Jiang Haotian after their sparring." Shangguan Fenglan said. "If Jiang Haotian really won, then we really underestimated his ability. But thinking about it, it's not very likely. After all, you and I both know Madman's methods. Even if he suppressed his cultivation, there's definitely no one in Jiutian Palace who can defeat him." Headache. The first elder rubbed his forehead. He really couldn't understand what kind of relationship there was between Madman and Qin Feiyang. When Qin Feiyang returned to the cave abode, the sky had already darkened. He didn't go to the resource hall. Because he had more important things to do, refining the dragon's soul primordial spirit pill. When he left the treasure hall during the day, the reason why he was so happy was because he got the herbs for the dragon's soul primordial spirit pill from Shengguanqiu. And there was more than one set. After all, he couldn't just take care of himself. There was also Zhao Tai Lai, White-Eyed Wolf, Mermaid Princess, Tang Hai, and the others. Everyone had to have a share. So during the day, he coaxed Shengguanqiu in the treasure hall and finally got 20 sets of herbs. Although Shengguanqiu seemed reluctant, Qin Feiyang could see that 20 sets of herbs wasn't the limit of the treasure hall. They must be holding back. Of course. The treasure hall also had its rules. He couldn't get to the bottom of it. Moreover, he was already very satisfied to get 20 sets of herbs. But these 20 sets of herbs also cost him a lot. After all, it was a dragon soul. And it was a dragon soul above the perfection god of war. After discussing for half a day, the two finally reached a consensus. One set of herbs, 10 million. Not divine crystals, but soul stones. Shangguan Xiao also learned to be smart. No matter what he traded with Qin Feiyang in the future, he would use soul stones to trade. In other words, these 20 sets of herbs cost Qin Feiyang 200 million soul stones. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang took out 2 jade boxes and an iron box and opened them one by one. Inside the 2 jade boxes were the flower of the dragon god and the primordial spirit lotus. The primordial spirit lotus was the size of a baby's fist. It was snow white and emitted a hazy divine light with a holy aura. Inside the iron box was a golden dragon. But it was very small. It was about the size of an adult's palm. It lay quietly in the iron box, motionless, and no emotional fluctuations could be felt. This was the dragon soul of the golden dragon. However, this dragon soul's consciousness had already been erased. A dragon soul with its consciousness erased was just like a human with its consciousness erased. It had no lethality at all and was just a pure herb. Qin Feiyang wasn't in a hurry to refine the elixir. First, he opened the elixir scripture and carefully read the steps of refining the dragon soul primordial spirit pill. About half an hour passed. Qin Feiyang finally memorized the elixir recipe. For elixirs like the dragon soul primordial spirit pill, he didn't allow any mistakes. Because once he made a mistake, a set of herbs would be wasted. These herbs were all very hard to find, and one wasted set was one less set. Closing his eyes and calming his mind for a moment, when his heart was as calm as water, Qin Feiyang finally opened his eyes. He revived the nether devil flame and opened the furnace to refine the elixir. Every step was extremely careful. His spiritual force was also highly concentrated. In less than 10 breaths, his forehead was covered with bean-sized beads of sweat. Fire Lotus, White-Eyed Wolf, Mermaid Princess, and the others also woke up from their seclusion. But from beginning to end, no one made the slightest movement. They silently got up and then quietly looked at Qin Feiyang. Their hearts were filled with anticipation. Chapter 21-27. Time passed quietly. About an hour later, suddenly, a bright golden light bloomed from the Qingluan cauldron. Following that, pieces of pill qi rose up like auspicious light from the heavens, filled with a sacred aura. There was also a strong pill fragrance. Success! Zhao Tai-Lai and the others stared at the Qingluan cauldron excitedly. Whoosh! With a piercing sound, a pill flew out of the cauldron and floated above it. It was a dazzling golden pill. 9 pill patterns, bright and dazzling. And it also had a strong divine dragon aura. Qin Feiyang looked at the pill, wiped the sweat on his forehead, and then smiled happily. Whether it was the 4 symbols infinite divine pill or the dragon soul primordial spirit pill, he was very happy that he could successfully refine them on his first try. Of course, this was also due to the alchemy scripture. Without the alchemy scripture, no matter how high one's attainments were, there was a possibility of failure. Not bad. This is the dragon soul primordial spirit pill. A gray figure appeared, looking at the pill and said. It was the artifact spirit. Qin Feiyang was stunned, turned to look at the artifact spirit, and said, "You know about the dragon soul primordial spirit pill?" "Yes. I've seen it with your ancestor." The artifact spirit nodded. Qin Feiyang nodded, but his expression suddenly froze, and he frowned. "Wait, so my ancestor opened the door of potential because he took these pills?" He originally thought that his ancestor relied on his own ability to open the door of potential. But now, he suddenly thought that since his ancestor also had these pill formulas, he should have also taken the pills to open the door of potential. Wrong. Before the artifact spirit answered, Tan Tai Li spoke first. Wrong? Qin Feiyang was stunned, scratching his head, and looked at Tan Tai Li in confusion. Tan Tai Li said, "When your ancestor opened the door of potential, he never took any pills." "No?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. "Yes. I don't know what happened after he entered the ancient world, but before he entered the ancient world, he never took any pills like the potential pill." Tan Tai Li said. "Impressive." Qin Feiyang was amazed. It turned out that he really relied on his own ability to unlock the door of potential. How outstanding was this talent? He had seen many monstrous geniuses. However, as far as he knew, Zhuge Mingyang was the only person who had unlocked the door of potential on his own. However, he had only opened the second level. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly. He shook his head and said, "The ancestor relied on his own ability to open so many doors of potential, while I can't even open the first one. The gap between me and the ancestor is really big." "Don't say that. It's because you had the potential pill from the very beginning. If you don't, you will definitely try to find an opportunity to unlock the door of potential. Who knows, he might succeed." Tan Tai Li consoled her. "Maybe." Qin Feiyang shook his head and grabbed the dragon's soul primordial spirit pellet. He looked at the artifact spirit and said, "Let me borrow your aura." After saying that, he sat cross-legged on the ground and consumed the dragon's soul primordial spirit pill. The artifact spirit released its aura. One must know that the artifact spirit was a heaven-defying artifact. How terrifying was its aura! Qin Feiyang was shrouded by the aura. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on his body, making it difficult for him to breathe. Moreover, he had to endure the pain of the dragon's soul primordial spirit pill's energy on his body. This was even more painful than when he took the great creation pill. He felt that his body was about to be torn apart. And his body was indeed about to be torn apart. His skin broke apart inch by inch, and blood flowed out. If he took off his clothes now, he would be shocked to see that his entire body was covered with cracks, like a spider web. Boom! A moment passed. A muffled sound suddenly exploded in his body. Following closely, under the clothes on his chest, a dazzling blood light burst out. That blood light, even the blood-stained clothes, could not hide it. It was also at this moment. The pain on Qin Feiyang's face dissipated, and was replaced by joy. He said, "You can withdraw your aura." The artifact spirit withdrew its aura. Qin Feiyang immediately tore open his clothes, and saw that the potential imprint had shockingly turned into a blood-red color. The mermaid princess and the others finally heaved a sigh of relief. The scene from before was too terrifying. They were afraid that Qin Feiyang's body would be torn apart by the dragon's soul primordial spirit pill. Wait. Zhao Tailai seemed to have thought of something. Looking at the mermaid princess and the others, he said in surprise, "Young master's body has been tempered by the heavenly tribulation, and even it can't withstand it." Then wouldn't we, hearing this? Everyone looked at each other. That's right. After being tempered by the heavenly tribulation, they were about to explode. Then wouldn't their untempered bodies be even more dangerous? It seems that we have to go all out to open this door of potential. Tang Hai sighed. Everyone nodded. Not to mention anything else, before opening the door of potential, they had to at least prepare some life-saving things. For example, the Life Divine Pill. While opening the door of potential, they were also recovering from their injuries. Qin Feiyang stood up, glanced at everyone, and said helplessly, "You haven't broken through to the perfect war god yet. Is there a need to think so much? Hurry up and cultivate." After saying that, he took the artifact spirit and entered the Black Tortoise realm. Then, he found a pool and swallowed a divine life pill. While healing his injuries, he washed the bloodstains on his body. Qin Feiyang suddenly seemed to think of something. He turned his head to look at the artifact spirit standing by the pool and asked, "I remember you said that you saw my ancestors more than 2,000 years ago. When you saw them, what was their cultivation level?" Very strong. The artifact spirit only said these two words. Very strong? How strong were they? Qin Feiyang was curious. The artifact spirit thought for a moment and said, stronger than the current Shengguan Fenglan. Damn, amazing. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. Back then, they were stronger than the current Shengguan Fenglan. Now that thousands of years had passed, wouldn't the cultivation level of the two ancestors have far surpassed Shengguan Fenglan? After Qin Feiyang came back to his senses, he smiled and said, it seems that this matter can't be told to madman. Why? The artifact spirit was suspicious. Madman and my ancestors are from the same period. Maybe at that time, my ancestor's cultivation level was lower than his. And now, Shengguan Fenglan is stronger than him. Think about it, with madman's personality, wouldn't he go crazy after learning this news? Qin Feiyang said. That makes sense. The artifact spirit nodded and smiled. However, madman is to blame for this. For 7,000 or 8,000 years, he has been wasting time. Otherwise, he would be more than a half-step god now. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said. Indeed. Although I don't understand madman, his talent is not inferior to yours. And he also has a spatial divine object with a time array. If he is willing to cultivate seriously, his achievements will be unimaginable. But I am a little puzzled, why did he waste all these years? Is there a special reason for this? The artifact spirit said. Who knows? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. During the conversation, Qin Feiyang's injuries had all been healed. After all, the effect of the divine life pill was far from comparable to the healing pill. Moreover, his bloodline power had the ability to repair itself. Then he jumped out of the pool, changed into clean clothes, and left the Black Tortoise realm. Sitting on a chair in the cave residence's living room, he lowered his head and pondered. As for the artifact spirit, it returned to his chi-si. Dong! Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked up at the stone door. With a wave of his hand, the stone door slowly opened and 4 young men stood outside. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's you, come in." It was the 4 people who went to the resource hall in the morning to sell the dragon god flower. "Greetings, senior brother Jiang." The 4 entered the cave residence and cupped their hands. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said with a smile, "I don't dare to accept this title, because in terms of experience and strength, you are the senior brothers." No. Experience and strength are useless, it depends on one's ability and status. Senior brother Jiang's status and ability in the 9th Heaven Palace has obviously surpassed us, so we should call you senior brother. The 4 smiled flatteringly. Qin Feiyang smiled. Without any more pleasantries, he took out 400,000 soul stones from his universe ring and piled them on the ground like a small mountain. The 4's eyes immediately lit up. However, they didn't take out the dragon god flower. Qin Feiyang looked at the 4 suspiciously and said with a smile, "I'm a man of my word, give me the dragon god flower and these 400,000 soul stones are yours." Hearing this, the 4 looked at each other. One of them smiled and said, "Senior brother Jiang, we have brought the dragon god flower, but we have a small request." Request? Qin Feiyang was stunned and frowned. "The 4 of you, when we were in the resource hall this morning, we didn't mention any additional requests." That person said, "This is something we thought of at the last minute." "Then let's hear it." Qin Feiyang said. Although he already had 20 sets of medicinal herbs now, the more medicinal herbs for this kind of pill, the better. As long as the request of the 4 wasn't too excessive, he would consider it. "We want to raise the price. The 4 of us, 1 million soul stones each." That person smiled. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. This request was actually to raise the price? And it was increased by 10 times at once? Originally, it was 400,000. But now, 1 million soul stones each was 4 million. What a big appetite. The four of you, when doing business, you have to keep your word. How can you raise the price at the last minute? Qin Feiyang said. We also know that a last-minute request is a bit excessive. But a mere 4 million soul stones is nothing to senior brother Jiang, right? You have to know that this morning, senior brother Jiang, you gave someone 40 million soul stones at the North City Gate. You are so generous even to outsiders. Do you have to be so stingy with us, your fellow disciples? Right. The four of them laughed. This is not a matter of generosity or stinginess, it's a matter of credibility. I, Jiang Haotian, have always been a man of my word, and I am also very disgusted by the other party going back on their word. Since the four of you are not happy, then please go back. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. The four of them froze. Originally, they thought that Qin Feiyang was very easy to talk to, but they didn't expect that he would directly turn hostile and ask them to leave. However, the four of them quickly calmed down and had no intention of leaving. Chapter 21-28. Why? Do you want me to chase you out? Looking at the four of them standing in front of him motionless, Qin Feiyang said expressionlessly. Huh, the four of them laughed. Not only were they not afraid, they even sat down. Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold. Did I ask you to sit? Senior brother Jiang, don't be angry, listen to us first. One of them laughed. Qin Feiyang said, we don't have anything to say. No. Senior brother Jiang works in the resource hall. Don't you know the rules of the resource hall? The four of them were all smiling. What rules? Qin Feiyang frowned. Any disciple who enters the resource hall to exchange for soul stones, the staff of the resource hall are not allowed to make private transactions. In other words, this morning, you secretly asked us to make private transactions with you, which is already against the rules of the resource hall. And if we tell Hall Master Feng Yuan about this, what do you think the consequences will be? I'm afraid not only will we be punished, but we will also be chased out of the resource hall. The four of them laughed happily, as if they had Qin Feiyang under their control. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The resource hall did have such a rule. When he first entered the resource hall, Wang Yun first said this to him. However, he did not expect that the four of them would use this to threaten him. Senior brother Jiang, we're just looking for money. And we don't want much. For these soul stones, is it worth it to fall out with us? The four of them said one after another, their faces full of playfulness. Qin Feiyang glanced at the four of them and nodded with a smile. It's indeed not worth it. That's right. Harmony brings wealth, that's the right way. One of them laughed. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and smiled. That makes sense. Alright, I'll give you 4 million, but I want to take a look at the Dragon God flower. No problem. The four of them smiled proudly. One of them immediately took out a jade box, opened it, and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang glanced at the jade box and saw that it was indeed the Dragon God's flower. Wait a moment, I'll give you the rest of the soul stones right away. Qin Feiyang smiled and touched the interspatial ring on his index finger. The four of them stared at Qin Feiyang's interspatial ring with greed in their eyes. There must be a lot of soul stones in that interspatial ring. What a pity. If we knew it would be so easy, we would have asked for more. Someone said telepathically. More? The other three stared blankly for a moment before their eyes lit up. It's not too late to raise the price. That's right. We have something on him, so aren't we the ones who have the final say? Alright, then we'll raise the price. The four of them immediately agreed. They looked at Qin Feiyang and said, wait. What is it? Qin Feiyang was taken aback and looked at the four of them suspiciously. We've changed our minds again. Each of us wants 100 million soul stones. Yes. Not a word less. The four of them said, 100 million? Qin Feiyang was stunned. They were really 4 wolves that couldn't be fed. Then he smiled. The four of them also smiled. They thought that Qin Feiyang had agreed. They couldn't help but feel excited. 400 million soul stones, ordinary disciples like them didn't even dare to think about it. Okay. I'll satisfy your request. Qin Feiyang smiled. Thank you. The four of them laughed. But 400 million soul stones is not a small number. I don't have that many on me. I put the rest in the interspatial divine item. Why don't you come with me to get it? Qin Feiyang said. Interspatial divine item? The four of them were stunned. There's no need for that. The interspatial divine item is an independent space after all. If anything happens, then we won't be able to help. Jiang Haotian, don't play tricks. Just take the soul stones out of the interspatial divine item. The four of them sneered. They were also afraid that Qin Feiyang would kill them, so they didn't dare to go to the interspatial divine item. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, I didn't expect the four of you to be so careful. We can't be careless. After all, you're Jiang Haotian. The four of them said. All right, I'll give you the soul stones now. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. But the next moment, a cold light suddenly flashed in his eyes. At the same time, he waved his big hand, and 4 streaks of blood streaked across the sky like lightning and entered the glabella of the four of them. The four of them screamed and died on the spot. Threatening me? Qin Feiyang took a step forward and looked coldly at the four of them who died with their eyes wide open, and said, You dare to threaten me? You guys are really tired of living. After saying that, he bent down and picked up the jade box containing the dragon god's flower, and took away the 4 universe rings. Although the four of them were dead, their screams could be heard. What's going on? Who's screaming? The disciples of the first sacred peak ran out one after another and looked at the cave where Qin Feiyang was. Because they all heard clearly that the screams came from the first cave. What happened? Suddenly, a figure broke through the air. It was Jin Yunchang. Although Madman was an inner sect elder, he basically didn't care about anything, so he was still the one in charge. Elder Jin, there were a few screams coming from the first cave. Someone said. What? Jin Yunchang's face changed, and he quickly flew to the door of the cave. As he knocked on the door, he shouted, Jiang Haotian, are you inside? Open the door. So fast. Inside the cave. Qin Feiyang looked at the stone door and couldn't help but frown. There was still some distance between the 10 sacred peaks and the inner sect's deacon hall. Moreover, although the screams of the 4 people were heard, the stone door of the cave also had a certain degree of soundproofing. Logically speaking, Jin Yunchang shouldn't have heard it. But now, Jin Yunchang actually rushed over so quickly, as if it was premeditated. Jin Yunchang roared, Jiang Haotian, if you don't open the door, I will break it by force. Could it be that Jiang Haotian is not in the cave now? He is. In the evening, I saw him come back with my own eyes. I think something shady must have happened in the cave, so he didn't dare to open the door. Everyone whispered. Boom. But at this moment, the stone door slowly opened. Qin Feiyang stood behind the stone door, full of murderous intent. Why is there such a strong murderous intent? Everyone was surprised. Jin Yunchang glanced at Qin Feiyang and rushed into the cave. Qin Feiyang also ignored Jin Yunchang. Bastard. Soon. Jin Yunchang's angry roar sounded in the cave, followed by Jin Yunchang walking out gloomily with 4 corpses. What? 4 people died? What the hell is going on? Everyone was bewildered. Jin Yunchang walked out of the cave, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said in a deep voice, Jiang Haotian, please give me an explanation. Qin Feiyang said, previously, they hid in the cave and wanted to plot against me, but I discovered them, so I killed them. Plot against him? Is that so? Everyone muttered. Since it was a plot, then their deaths are not to be regretted. Drag them away and bury them. At this time, Madman flew over and looked at Jin Yunchang. Elder, this is only Jiang Haotian's side of the story. No one knows what happened before, how can you be so rash? Jin Yunchang looked at Madman and said. Madman said, then tell me, what is going on? Jin Yunchang glanced at Qin Feiyang and said, we can't rule out the possibility that Jiang Haotian killed them on purpose. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Elder Jin, do you want me to die that much? What a joke. I'm just stating facts. You said they ambushed you, then why don't you take out the evidence? Jin Yunchang said angrily. Qin Feiyang said, they ambushed me, how would I have the time to find evidence? Then what you said might not be true. Jin Yunchang sneered and looked at Madman. Elder, this matter must be investigated thoroughly. Perhaps Jiang Haotian is really innocent, but without evidence, we can't be so arbitrary. All right, I'll leave it to you to investigate. After Madman finished speaking, he turned around and prepared to return home. Madman, please wait a moment. But suddenly, a faint laugh sounded. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man appear out of thin air in the void above. This person held a folding fan in his hand and wore a white robe. His long hair draped over his shoulders and he exuded a scholarly aura. It's you? Madman turned around and frowned. Yes, it's me. The young man in white nodded. This person looks so familiar, I seem to have seen him somewhere before. Everyone looked at the young man in white suspiciously. Qin Feiyang looked at the young man in white with a trace of doubt in his eyes. This person's voice sounded familiar. Right. I remember now. He's Yu Zijie, the second on the heaven roll, the number 1 alchemist, and the disciple of the second elder. Someone exclaimed in shock. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. So it's him. Qin Feiyang muttered. No wonder he felt that this person's voice sounded familiar. Yu Zijie glanced at Qin Feiyang and smiled at Madman. Madman, there is indeed a mystery behind this matter. Madman was taken aback and crossed his arms in front of his chest. Then why don't you tell me? Yu Zijie smiled. If I say it, you can't be biased. After all, you are now an inner elder. Of course. As long as you can produce evidence, I will deal with it impartially. Madman said. I'm waiting for you to say this. Yu Zijie smiled and glanced at the disciples around, saying, actually, Jiang Haotian killed them to silence them. What? Everyone was surprised. Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank slightly. This person was so calm, could it be that he really had evidence? Let me show everyone a video. Yu Zijie took out the image crystal and with a wave of his hand, a video slowly unfolded in the night sky. What? Qin Feiyang was shocked. This video was actually the scene when he was talking with the 4 people in the cave. In other words, when the 4 people came to find him, Yu Zijie also sneaked in. Understood. Qin Feiyang muttered. No wonder the 4 people were so bold and dared to threaten him. It turned out that they had Yu Zijie backing them from behind. Moreover, Jin Yunchang was definitely an accomplice of these people. In other words, this was a killing trap set up by Yu Zijie and Jin Yunchang. Chapter 21-29. When the video ended, the crowd was in an uproar. He really killed people to silence them. As a member of the resource hall, he actually used his authority to make private transactions with others. This is already against the rules. When I heard that he let Feng Wenhai go and gave 40 million soul stones to the family of the deceased outside the city this morning, I thought that he was really a good person. But I didn't expect that all of this was just an act. He really hid his strength well. At this moment, looking at Qin Feiyang, everyone's eyes were filled with disgust. Seeing this scene, Madman couldn't help but frown. Yu Zijie, on the other hand, was full of smiles. He put away the video crystal and looked at Madman. Jiang Haotian used his authority to fill his pockets and even killed the innocent. May I ask how to deal with such a mistake? Kid, what are you doing? Even if you made private transactions with them and violated the rules of the resource hall, Feng Yuan wouldn't dare to do anything to you after learning about it. At most, he would only give you a small punishment. But why did you kill them? What do you want me to do now? Madman thought to himself, extremely angry. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice, you also saw it. It was them who kept pushing their luck. If it were you, would you tolerate it? Madman was slightly stunned and thought to himself, indeed, I can't tolerate it. That's right. I don't regret killing these 4 people. But this Yuzijia actually did such a thing behind my back. I can't tolerate it. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. Madman asked suspiciously, but then again, why did this Yuzijia harm you? How would I know? Qin Feiyang couldn't figure it out either. He didn't seem to have any grudges with this Yuzijia. Last time at the auction house, when he bid for the 4 symbols infinite divine pill, it was also Madman who humiliated him. The second 4 symbols infinite divine pill was also played by Mu Tianyang and Hui Yi. Logically speaking, even if Yuzijia was angry and wanted to find trouble, he should find trouble with Madman and Mu Tianyang. But why was he targeting him now? Madman, you haven't punished him yet. Don't tell me you want to bend the law and protect him. Yuzijia said mockingly as he looked at Madman. What a joke. I am a selfless man. Why would I cover up for others? Jin Yunchang, send him to the law enforcement hall immediately and hand him over to Shengguan Fenglan for her to decide. Madman shouted. Yes. Jin Yunchang was overjoyed. He turned to Qin Feiyang and sneered, let's go. Qin Feiyang glanced at Yuzijia, then looked at Jin Yunchang and said, lead the way. You can't walk by yourself? Jin Yunchang shouted as he kicked Qin Feiyang's body. Who did he think he was, asking him to lead the way? Qin Feiyang clenched his fists and stared at Jin Yunchang. I don't know where the law enforcement hall is. Are you kidding me? You've been in 9 Heavens Palace for so long, but you don't even know where the enforcement hall is? Jin Yunchang was taken aback and said angrily. Qin Feiyang said, with just one sentence, you feel like I'm playing with you. How inferior are you usually? Jin Yunchang was furious. He raised his arm and was about to slap Qin Feiyang's face. Madman's face darkened, and said, Jin Yunchang, it's not your turn to show off. Jin Yunchang's body stiffened. He glanced at Madman, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, follow me. With that, he flew towards the depths of 9 Heavens Palace. I, Jiang Haotian, rarely take the initiative to cause trouble, but I'm never afraid of trouble. This time, I admit defeat, but there's still a long way to go. Let's wait and see. Qin Feiyang glanced at Yuzijia indifferently, then followed Jin Yunchang and left. There's still a long way to go, the corner of Yuzijia's mouth lifted. Looking at Qin Feiyang's back, he pursed his lips with a thick sense of ridicule. Yuzijia. Suddenly, Madman's voice sounded. Yuzijia was taken aback. He turned to look at Madman and asked, what's the matter? Madman said, I heard that 2 years ago, you snatched a few medicinal herbs from an outer disciple. 2 years ago. Snatched a few medicinal herbs. Yuzijia was stunned. There was such a thing? As a heaven-list disciple, you actually snatched medicinal herbs from an outer disciple. You really brought shame to our 9 Heavens Palace. Madman sneered, then turned and left. Yuzijia was a little dumbfounded. When he came back to his senses, he hurriedly shouted, when did I do such a thing? Explain it to me clearly. You know very well. Madman said without turning his head. It can't be. This Yuzijia actually snatched medicinal herbs from an outer disciple? It seems that it's not a good thing. The surrounding people whispered in each other's ears. Don't listen to madman's nonsense. This is purely false. He saw that I exposed Jiang Haotian's true face, so he made up this lie to take revenge on me. Everyone, you must not be deceived by him. Yu Zijie hurriedly explained. On Qin Feiyang's side. Along the way, he lowered his head and didn't say a word. Unknowingly, an ancient hall appeared in front of them. The hall was completely black, sitting on top of a giant mountain that was thousands of feet high. It was like a giant beast, emitting an aura that made people tremble. In front of the hall, there was a square. In the corner of the square, there was a tall stone tablet. The 3 words were like iron hooks and silver strokes, vigorous and powerful. Law Enforcement Hall. That's right. This was the law enforcement hall that made countless disciples tremble in fear. On both sides of the door, 2 men in black held long spears and stood straight. Their eyes were extremely sharp. Their aura was also unfathomable. We're here. Jin Yunchang said. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at the law enforcement hall. An aura that made people in awe suddenly rushed towards them. It was very quiet here. But in this quiet atmosphere, it seemed to be filled with an invisible killing intent. One could even vaguely smell a faint smell of blood. The 2 landed on the square one after another and walked to the door. What's the matter? The 2 black-clothed men looked at Jin Yunchang expressionlessly and asked. This Jiang Haotian used his power to fill his pockets and even killed 4 of our disciples. So I specially brought him here to ask Hall Master Shengguan to make a decision. Jin Yunchang cupped his hands and said. The 2 black-clothed men looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Whether it was in the 9 Heavens Palace or outside, this boy was quite well received. How could he do such a thing? Jin Yunchang said, May I ask if Hall Master Shengguan is here? No. Wait a moment, I'll immediately report to Hall Master. One of the black-clothed men said and took out an image crystal. Buzz. Not long after, Shengguan Fenglan's shadow appeared. There was a young man beside her. It was Long Tianyu. What's the matter? Shengguan Fenglan looked at the black-clothed man and asked indifferently. It's about Jiang Haotian. Hall Master, please come over immediately. The black-clothed man said. Jiang Haotian? Shengguan Fenglan was stunned and said, Okay, I'll be right there. After saying that, the shadow disappeared into thin air. A moment later. Swish. Shengguan Fenglan finally arrived in the sky above the square. Greetings, Hall Master. Jin Yunchang, Qin Feiyang, and the 2 black-clothed men bowed one after another. Shengguan Fenglan glanced at Qin Feiyang, landed in front of the door, and then entered the main hall, saying, Come in. Qin Feiyang and Jin Yunchang followed in. The layout of the main hall was very simple. There was only 1 chair in the entire main hall. It was placed right at the top, and it seemed extremely empty. However, the inside of the hall was a little dim, giving people a sense of oppression from the soul. Shengguan Fenglan walked straight to the front of the chair, then turned around and sat on it. She looked at Jin Yunchang and said, Speak. Jin Yunchang immediately recounted what had happened in detail. Shengguan Fenglan heard this and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, Is it true? Qin Feiyang nodded. You're getting bolder and bolder. Shengguan Fenglan suddenly said angrily. Qin Feiyang said, I know I was wrong, and I'm willing to be punished. Jin Yunchang bowed and said, Hall Master, this matter concerns 4 lives. Please punish Jiang Haotian severely. Those who have made mistakes should be punished severely. I have my own decision. You can leave. Shengguan Fenglan waved her hand. Yes. Jin Yunchang responded respectfully, then glanced coldly at Qin Feiyang, turned around, and left quickly. After Jin Yunchang left, Shengguan Fenglan said angrily, How can you be so careless? You actually let Yu Zijie have something on you? I didn't expect that Yu Zijie would work with Jin Yunchang to deal with me. Qin Feiyang said helplessly. Shangguan Fenglan was stunned and asked, Jin Yunchang is also involved? Although Jin Yunchang didn't say it explicitly, he rushed over as soon as I killed those people. This matter obviously has something to do with him. Qin Feiyang said. Then why did Yu Zijie want to deal with you? Did you offend him? Shangguan Fenglan was suspicious. This is also the question I can't figure out. I have never been on bad terms with him. I didn't even know there was such a person before. Qin Feiyang frowned. That's not right. I heard from my sister that when you were bidding for the Four Symbols Infinite Divine Pill in the Treasure Pavilion, you seemed to have humiliated him. Shangguan Fenglan said. That's true. But the one who humiliated him was Madman. Later on, I went to the Far West with Madman. It was also Mu Tianyang and Hui Yi who were playing with him. I didn't say anything at all. Qin Feiyang said. Shangguan Fenglan pondered for a moment and said, it seems that this matter needs to be investigated properly. How about this, you go to the prison first. Prison? Qin Feiyang was stunned. My Nine Heavens Palace has a prison, it's right under the enforcement hall. It's specifically used to punish disciples who have made mistakes. Shangguan Fenglan nodded. Qin Feiyang suddenly said with dissatisfaction, although I killed someone, but in the end, it was them who were aggressive. But before Qin Feiyang finished speaking, Shangguan Fenglan said, but you violated the rules of the resource hall. This is an indisputable fact. If I don't punish you now, Feng Yuan will definitely use this matter to make a big fuss. Moreover, the disciples under him will not be convinced. Qin Feiyang still had a look of dissatisfaction. Don't worry. This Highness will arrange it. At most, you will stay in the prison for a while. It won't be a big deal. Shangguan Fenglan said. All right then. Qin Feiyang said helplessly. By the way, you want the Dragon God's flower. Do you want to study some kind of pill? Shangguan Fenglan asked. Chapter 2130. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. What kind of elixir? Shangguan Fenglan was curious. It's a secret for now. Qin Feiyang smiled mysteriously. Brat. Shangguan Fenglan rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang and shouted, Men. A man in black outside immediately ran in. Shangguan Fenglan said, Take Jiang Haotian to the prison, but remember, it's just an ordinary prison. Yes. The man in black respectfully responded. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he politely stretched out his hand and said, Please. Qin Feiyang nodded, glanced at Shangguan Fenglan, then turned and walked out of the hall. The man in black also followed him out. Yu Zijie, Jin Yunchang, how did two completely unrelated people end up together? Shangguan Fenglan lowered her head, her brows tightly knitted together. Outside the hall. Qin Feiyang followed behind the man in black, passing through the square and coming to the cliff on the east side. There was a mountain road at the edge of the cliff, winding down to the mountainside. The man in black walked along the mountain road and said with a smile, Jiang Haotian, Lord Temple Master takes good care of you. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was curious. You also heard Lord Temple Master say that it's just an ordinary prison. Do you know what this means? It means that Lord Temple Master has no intention of blaming you at all. You may not know the situation in our prison. Let me put it this way. Anyone who enters our law enforcement hall's prison basically never returns. The man in black smiled. So serious? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Yes. This is the reason why the disciples of Nine Heavens Palace are so afraid of our enforcement hall. We have always been cruel to those who have made mistakes. In short, once in prison, they will be tortured and abused. Even if we accidentally kill them, the higher-ups won't blame us. The man in black smiled. Qin Feiyang was secretly shocked and said, I didn't expect the power of the law enforcement hall to be so great. The law enforcement hall is the dagger of 9 Heavens Palace. We are law enforcers, also known as executioners. The black-clothed man said. Executioner, actually, no matter what, there are 2 sides to everything. Although you are cruel, it is because of you that 9 Heavens Palace is so peaceful. Qin Feiyang smiled. Ugh. The man in black turned his head and looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. What is it? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. I was a little surprised. After being in the law enforcement hall for so many years, this is the first time I've heard someone praise us, the law enforcement hall. The man in black shook his head and smiled. This is the truth. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. The contribution you enforcers have made to the 9 Heavens Palace is incomparable. Qin Feiyang said. Huh, the black-clothed man smiled in relief and said, now I finally understand why Lord Hall Master is taking such good care of you. You're a talent. You flatter me. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Suddenly, as if thinking of something, he asked calmly, Elder Yin Hui, is she in the law enforcement hall now? The black-clothed man said, Elder Yin has been in seclusion these years. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and nodded thoughtfully. We're here. After a while. The black-clothed man smiled. Qin Feiyang looked up and saw that they were already halfway up the mountain. In front of them, there was a dark stone door, as if it was built with divine iron, exuding a cold aura. The stone door was closed. Next to it, there was an old man in black sitting cross-legged. The old man had his eyes closed, and there was a kind of indifference in his expression that made people not dare to approach him. Greetings to Elder Yun. The black-clothed man bowed. The old man opened his eyes, and 2 cold light burst out. Qin Feiyang also hurriedly bowed his head. The moment the old man opened his eyes, he felt as if he was being stared at by a poisonous snake, and a sense of fear uncontrollably emerged in his heart. This old man must be an extremely terrifying existence, and his methods were very bloody. Under the orders of the temple master, I brought Jiang Haotian to the prison. But the temple master said that it's just an ordinary prison. The black-clothed man said respectfully. The old man said coldly, got it, you can go back. Yes. The black-clothed man nodded in response, then turned around and said, Jiang Haotian, this old man has a very high status in our 9 Heavens Palace, and even the temple master has to be polite to him. Don't offend him. Understood. Qin Feiyang secretly said. In addition, you have to be careful, because Elder Yun is Elder Yin's master. After the black-clothed man finished speaking, he left without looking back. Yin Hui's master. Qin Feiyang was shocked. It was really a small world. Feng Wenhai and Yin Hui were husband and wife. Then this Elder Yun was very likely to make a move on him for Yin Hui. Then wouldn't he be a turtle in a jar in the prison? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. One had to know. If Elder Yun really wanted to harm him, then in the prison, he wouldn't be able to call for help. That wasn't right. If Elder Yun really wanted to harm him, then he believed that Shengguan Fenglan would definitely not let him come to the prison. In other words, Shengguan Fenglan trusted this old man. So it seemed that this Elder Yun should be an upright person, and would not deliberately make things difficult for him for Yin Hui. However, one had to be wary of others. It was better to be careful in the future. Boom! Just as Qin Feiyang was deep in thought, the prison's stone door slowly opened. Elder Yun said expressionlessly, after you go in, go directly to the 3rd row, the 2nd cell. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and strode towards the stone door. Jiang Haotian, although Shengguan Fenglan said that it's just an ordinary prison, don't think that you have the right to be arrogant. If you dare to mess around in the prison, this old man will directly kill you. Elder Yun suddenly spoke again. Qin Feiyang's body stiffened, took a deep breath, and nodded, understood. With that, he entered the prison without looking back. Boom! The stone door also closed. Qin Feiyang stood in place, scanning the front. In front of him, there were a total of 5 corridors. Every 10 meters on the wall, there was an oil lamp hanging, flickering with faint candlelight, making this place extremely dark. On both sides of the corridor, there were iron doors. On each iron door, there was a number, and there was a small window more than half a meter wide. However, the small windows were also blocked by iron pillars as thick as an arm. One could only see the outside and could not climb out. Qin Feiyang walked into the 3rd corridor and then stopped in front of the 2nd iron door. This was his cell. Suddenly. A shrill scream came from the end of the corridor. Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked up. At the end of the corridor, there was an iron door, and it was completely closed, and the situation inside could not be seen. That miserable shriek came from behind the iron gate. Could that be the interrogation room? Qin Feiyang muttered. Crack. Suddenly, the iron door opened. 2 bare-chested brawny men in large underpants dragged a young man dripping with blood as they walked out. Qin Feiyang looked at the young man, and his pupils shrank. He was almost unrecognizable, like a dead dog, moaning weakly. At the same time. When the 2 brawny men saw Qin Feiyang, they were slightly stunned. But then, a cruel smile crept up on their faces. Here comes another one. Boy, what's your name? What did you do to get in here? The 2 brawny men threw the young man into a cell like garbage, closed the iron door with a bang, and then walked toward Qin Feiyang step by step. That look, as if staring at prey, was full of a murderous aura. Jiang Haotian. Murder. Qin Feiyang said. Jiang Haotian? The 2 of them were slightly stunned, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, So you are Jiang Haotian. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, pushed open the iron door, and walked in. Wait. Did we let you in? The 2 of them pursed their lips into a sneer. What's the matter? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Don't you know the rules here? Anyone who comes here has to be treated well first, just like the person you just saw. Come on. The 2 of them walked to the iron door at the end and looked at Qin Feiyang with sneers. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang frowned. What do you think? Do you still remember Elder Feng Wenhai? He was a little bit hurt by you. The 2 of them were playing. Qin Feiyang's heart sank, and said, You are Feng Wenhai's men? Don't talk nonsense. We just don't like what you did to Elder Feng, so we want you to suffer. Of course, in this prison, you don't have the right to choose. Hurry up, don't make us do it ourselves. The 2 of them said with a smile. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, Sorry, I'm just an ordinary prisoner. After saying that, he turned around and entered the cell. The cell was about 5 or 6 meters, and there was nothing except a stone bed. No. There was blood. Whether it was the ground, the wall, or the stone bed, there were dried blood stains. Obviously. This was the blood of the people who used to be imprisoned here after being tortured and abused. Ordinary prisoner. Outside. The 2 strong men were a little stunned. But the next moment, their faces were full of anger. The 2 of them rushed into the cell angrily and pressed Qin Feiyang on the ground. What are you doing? Qin Feiyang said angrily. What are we doing? Do you think ordinary imprisonment can prevent you from being tortured and interrogated? Naive. Here, we are the heavens. We will do whatever we say. The 2 of them looked at Qin Feiyang condescendingly, their faces full of sneers. At this moment, Qin Feiyang's eyes were extremely gloomy, and said, This is Shengguan Fenglan's order, you dare to disobey her decree? Of course, we dare not disobey the decree of Lord Palace Lord. But Lord Palace Lord doesn't seem to know about this. So even if we kill you, we can casually find an excuse and say that you asked for it. The two of them laughed. Chapter 21:31. Qin Feiyang's face was as gloomy as water. Obviously. These two brawny men were Feng Wenhai's men. Now they wanted to take this opportunity to avenge Feng Wenhai, which was to get rid of him. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "What benefits did Feng Wenhai give you to make you work so hard for him?" "I told you, this has nothing to do with Elder Feng, we just don't like you. Don't be so naive to think that Shangguan Fenglan's words can keep you safe. Let me tell you, as long as the two of us are here, you can forget about leaving the prison alive." The two of them grabbed Qin Feiyang and dragged him outside. Boom! But at this moment, the stone door of the prison opened. The two brawny men were shocked and hurriedly put down Qin Feiyang. Da-da! Accompanied by steady footsteps, an old man appeared in front of the three of them. Elder Yun. The two brawny men hurriedly bowed. Elder Yun glanced at Qin Feiyang, then looked at the two brawny men and said, "What you said before, are you serious?" The two of them looked rather flustered. Qin Feiyang got up from the ground. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he just looked at Elder Yun silently. He wanted to see if Elder Yun was a selfless old man. Elder Yun shouted, "This old man is asking you, are you serious?" Elder Yun. The two of them trembled and knelt on the ground. Elder Yun, we also want to avenge Elder Feng. Yes, yes, yes. Elder Feng was driven out of Nine Heavens Palace by this kid, we old subordinates have always been brooding about it. Elder Feng is our benefactor, we really can't stand this little bastard treating Elder Feng like this. Elder Yun, you are Elder Yin's master. Elder Feng has always treated you with the utmost respect. Hearing this, Elder Yun's eyes suddenly burst out with a cold light, and he shouted, "Shut up." The two of them trembled and did not dare to continue. Feng Wenhai was expelled from Nine Heaven Palace because he made a mistake. He deserved to be punished. As for you all, you actually dared to disregard the orders of the Hall Master and use your position to avenge private wrongs. Do you know what sort of crime this is? Old Yun said coldly. Elder Yun, the two of them were flustered. Elder Yun said, "This old man doesn't want to fight. Kill yourself. Commit suicide." The two of them quickly changed their expressions and shouted, "Elder Yun, we know our mistake. Please, let us go. We won't dare to do it again." Elder Yun didn't say a word. He just looked at the two of them. The two of them knelt on the ground and kowtowed non-stop. Their foreheads were bruised and blood flowed all over the ground. "It seems like you haven't fought for a long time. Even my words have no effect." Elder Yun's eyes turned cold. A wave of God power rolled out like a tidal wave and drowned the two of them. Accompanied by two painful screams, the two died on the spot. Not even their bones remained. Qin Feiyang's pupils contracted. This old man's methods were indeed bloody. After killing the two of them, Elder Yun glanced at Qin Feiyang, withdrew his God power, and turned to leave the prison. The stone door also closed. Qin Feiyang looked at the bloodstains on the ground and couldn't help but let out a breath. It seemed that this old man was indeed very upright, but he wasn't easy to get along with. He retracted his gaze and turned to enter the cell. After looking around, he directly entered the castle and went into seclusion to cultivate. He wasn't worried about this matter at all. Because Great Elder and Shangguan Fenglan wouldn't let him die. Even if Great Elder wanted him to die, he still had a life-saving trump card in his hand. And this trump card was the cause of death of Great Elder's son. The next day, late at night. St. Peak, Cave Number 4. Mu Tianyang, Hui Yi, and Madman sat opposite each other. But the three of them didn't speak. The living room was dead silent. After a while, Hui Yi raised his head and looked at Madman and Mu Tianyang. He frowned and said, "Senior brother Madman, brother Mu, say something." "Say what?" He asked for it. Madman said indifferently. You can't say it like that. Brother Jiang was also schemed against by Wuxia. Indeed, Brother Jiang is also at fault, but we can't just watch him die. Hua Yi said. Mu Tianyang raised his head and looked at Hua Yi. Have you asked Shangwan Fenglan how she dealt with him? I've already asked. She said that Brother Jiang is now locked in the prison. Hua Yi said. Prison? What is this Shangwan Fenglan doing? Doesn't she know that the prison of the law enforcement hall is a netherworld? Madman frowned. I also asked, she said that it's just an ordinary prison. But I heard that the person guarding the prison is Yin Hui's master, called Elder Yun. He's very strong. Hua Yi said in a deep voice. What? Mu Tianyang suddenly stood up and said in surprise, Yin Hui's master? Yes. I heard that this person has a very high status in Nine Heavens Palace. Even Shangwan Fenglan has to respect him. This is the problem I'm worried about. If Elder Yun uses his position to avenge a private grudge, then even with Shangwan Fenglan's protection, his life will be hard to protect. Hua Yi sighed. Mu Tianyang said in a deep voice, it seems that we really can't be careless about this matter. Actually, there's no need to worry. This old man also knows this old man. Although he is Yin Hui's master, he has an upright character and won't do anything to Jiang Haoyan. The most important thing now is to investigate Wuxia. This trash, this old man has long disliked him. If it wasn't for the second elder backing him up, who knows how many times he would have died. Madman snorted coldly. What does this Wuxia mean? Could it be that he holds a grudge because of that small matter at the auction house? Hua Yi raised his eyebrows. Madman said, this old man has thought about it carefully. His target should be this old man. You? Hua Yi and Mu Tianyang looked at each other. In the past, he was often bullied by this old man and has long held a grudge against this old man. It's just that his strength is too weak and he doesn't dare to openly oppose this old man, so he took a step back and made a move on Jiang Haoyan. Actually, this old man is also to blame. During this period of time, I have been too close to Jiang Haoyan, making everyone think that Jiang Haoyan is this old man's man. Madman sighed. If that's the case, then this account really needs to be settled with him. Hua Yi's eyes flashed with a cold light. You guys hold back first, this old man will arrange it. Damn it, to dare bully this old man, he is really courting death. After Madman finished speaking, he was about to get up. But at this moment, with a bang, something appeared out of thin air and landed in front of the three of them. Madman and the other two were startled and quickly looked down. Their faces suddenly changed. The thing that suddenly appeared was actually a corpse. And it was a corpse that was bleeding. Who? Madman roared and released his divine sense, enveloping the cave. But he couldn't find anything in the cave. Mu Tianyang and Hua Yi stepped forward and turned the corpse over. When they saw the face of the corpse, they immediately froze on the ground. Cheng Li. How could it be him? Madman was also dumbfounded. That's right. This corpse was the outer court elder, Cheng Li. He just died not long ago, but why would he appear in my cave? Senior brother Madman, did you find anything like a spatial divine object? Hua Yi looked at Madman and asked. No. But someone must have deliberately sent it here. But what is this person's purpose? Madman frowned. Boom. But at this moment, the cave's stone door was forcefully broken open. Madman and the other two looked over and saw a familiar figure standing at the door. Jin Yunchang. Madman's eyes darkened. Cheng Li. You guys actually joined hands to kill Elder Cheng? Jin Yunchang looked at the dead Cheng Li lying on the ground and his eyes suddenly widened as he roared, come quickly, Madman, Hua Yi, Mu Tianyang, kill Elder Cheng. His voice was like a bell, spreading in all directions. What? Madman and the others killed Elder Cheng? The disciples of the 10 sacred peaks immediately ran out of the cave and flew towards the 4th cave. They really killed him. Aren't they too bold? Qingli is an outer court elder. Even if he is madman, he doesn't have the authority. The place suddenly became noisy. Madman and the other 2 looked at the disciples outside, then looked at Jin Yunchang, then lowered their heads to look at Qingli. They immediately understood. This was yet another meticulously planned murder plot. And Jin Yunchang was one of them. Jin Yunchang, you dare to frame me? Madman's body suddenly emitted a monstrous killing intent as he rushed in front of Jin Yunchang and grabbed his neck. His eyes were cold and bone-chilling. Madman, don't talk nonsense. Who dares to kill Elder Cheng and then frame you? If you are a man, you must dare to take responsibility for your actions. Jin Yunchang roared, his face pale. You still dare to deny it, you are courting death. Madman's killing intent rose. But suddenly, a cold shout sounded. Madman, stop. Following closely, Shangguan Fenglan descended from the sky. Jin Yunchang hurriedly said, Hall Master Shangguan, quickly save me. This madman is completely crazy. Not only did he kill Elder Cheng, he also wants to kill me. You still dare to talk nonsense. Madman was furious. Shangguan Fenglan shouted, let him go. Madman raised his head and stared at Shangguan Fenglan, his eyes flashing with an astonishing cold light, but under Shangguan Fenglan's majesty, he finally let go of Jin Yunchang. Jin Yunchang hurriedly ran behind Shangguan Fenglan and said, Hall Master, Qingli's corpse is inside the cave. Shangguan Fenglan landed at the entrance of the cave and looked at Qingli's corpse. She turned to look at Madman and sighed, Madman, I'm afraid even the great elder won't be able to save you this time. We didn't kill Qingli, someone sent his corpse here before. Hui and Mu Tianyang hurriedly said. Madman did not speak and kept staring at Jin Yunchang. That cold gaze made Jin Yunchang unable to help but feel fear. Sent here? Shangguan Fenglan frowned. We swear that we definitely didn't kill Qingli, you should also understand Madman. Although Madman is usually lawless, it is only limited to the disciples of Nine Heavens Palace. He doesn't dare to act recklessly against people of the elder level. Hui said solemnly. Shangguan Fenglan's eyes flashed slightly, looking at Madman Mu Tianyang, she said, follow me to the law enforcement hall. Jin Yunchang, find a place and bury Qingli. Yes. Jin Yunchang respectfully responded. Chapter 2132. After Jin Yunchang left with Qingli's corpse, Hui and Mu Tianyang looked at each other and couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Mu Tianyang stepped forward and patted Madman's shoulder. I know you're angry now, but things have already come to this. No matter what we say, no one will believe us. Let's go to the law enforcement hall first. I believe that the first elder and Shangguan Fenglan will investigate the truth and clear our names. Madman retracted his gaze and glanced at Mu Tianyang and Hui. He looked at Shangguan Fenglan and said, let's go. Shangguan Fenglan soared into the air. Madman and the other 2 followed behind Shangguan Fenglan. But at this moment, a white-clothed youth holding a folding fan appeared behind the crowd on the left. Yuzijia. Madman's eyes were sharp and he immediately noticed the white-clothed youth. His face suddenly turned cold. He's also here? Could this matter be related to him? Mu Tianyang and Hui were surprised. Yuzijia looked at the 3 from afar with a bright smile on his face. Look at how happy he is. It's obvious that he's the one who brought Qingli's corpse here. Madman transmitted. This person's goal is indeed you. Hui, Jiang Haotian, and I were all implicated by you. Mu Tianyang sighed inwardly. What's the use of saying this now? Madman stared at Mu Tianyang and then looked at Yuzijia. His lips didn't move as he silently said, "Kid, you're dead. I'll wait." Yuzijia also moved his mouth and silently smiled. I really didn't expect Madman and the others to be so daring. Yeah. First, Jiang Haotian used his power for personal gain and killed someone to silence them. Now, the three of them are colluding to kill Elder Chengli. Is there really no one who can control them? Wrong. This time is different from the past. In the past, Madman did whatever he wanted and the people he killed were mostly disciples. Therefore, all the big shots turned a blind eye to it. However, this time around, he killed an elder. Although Qing Li's position in Nine Heavens Palace isn't high, not even comparable to the heaven-ranking disciples, he is still an elder. This matter definitely won't end well. Even if he's a madman, I'm afraid he won't be able to escape safely this time. This is also a good thing. Indeed. Now that the madman is gone, we can relax. It's best to lock him up in prison and never let him out again. People were discussing in low voices, and there was a faint smile on their faces. An hour later. Prison. The three young men walked into the prison angrily. I've already said that we were framed. Why are they still locked up in prison? One of them said angrily. This person was dressed in purple, with long hair and an extraordinary temperament. Just bear with it. Lan also knows that we were framed, but without evidence, what can she do? Moreover, Lan has already taken good care of us. Just like Jiang Haotian, we're all just ordinary prisoners. Speaking of which cell is Jiang Haotian locked in? He must be very surprised to see us come in. Brother Jiang Haotian, do you hear my voice? Respond if you hear me. A fiery-haired young man shouted. He was also wearing a fiery red robe, and his entire person looked like a ball of flame. That's right. These three people were the madman, Mu Tianyang, and Hui Yi. Inside the ancient castle. Qin Feiyang, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes, and there was a trace of surprise in his eyes. Why did he seem to hear Hui Yi's voice? Brother Jiang, we're here to see you. Hui Yi's voice sounded again. It's really him. Qin Feiyang was startled and quickly left the ancient castle. He appeared in the prison and said loudly, I'm here. Da-da. Accompanied by a burst of hurried footsteps, three figures quickly appeared outside the iron gate. Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them and said with a smile, You missed me so soon? Yes. A day without seeing you feels like 3 autumns. Hui Yi chuckled. Qin Feiyang was quite moved. Bang! The madman raised his foot and kicked the iron gate open. Then, he looked around the prison and frowned. This place is also for people to stay? It can't be helped. It's a prison after all. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Hui Yi said, When you came in, did anyone make things difficult for you? Yes, there was. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a frown, You're really here to see me? Hui Yi nodded and said, Of course, why else do you think we're here? Mu Tianyang looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Don't listen to his nonsense. We were also imprisoned by Shangguan Fenglan. What? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Hui Yi said with dissatisfaction, Brother Mu, why are you so straightforward? I want to continue teasing him. Is this the time to joke? Mu Tianyang rolled his eyes. Wait. What the hell is going on? Senior brother madman, is what Mu Tianyang said true? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The madman nodded. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Why were these 3 people also locked up? Who was the one who kicked the door just now? Suddenly, accompanied by a cold shout, 5 black-clothed men walked over boldly and decisively. The 5 of them had bloodstains on their bodies and looked fierce. Who are they? Mu Tianyang was suspicious. They are the law enforcers in the prison. They are specifically responsible for interrogating and torturing prisoners like us. Qin Feiyang said in a low voice. Mu Tianyang said, "We are just ordinary prisoners, they shouldn't dare, right?" "Not necessarily. When I came in, there were 2 law enforcers who wanted to torture me. But I'm afraid they won't this time. After all, senior brother Madman is here." Qin Feiyang glanced at the madman with a smile on his face. "What are you doing? Who gave you the guts to kick the door?" The 5 men walked over and looked at Qin Feiyang's group of 4 angrily. Qin Feiyang's group didn't say a word. The madman was still looking around the cell. Because of this, his back was facing the 5 of them. One of the burly men shouted, "Jiang Haotian, I'm asking you a question. You ask and we have to answer? You have such a big face?" The madman said indifferently. "Presumptuous. Do you know where this is? How dare you be so arrogant?" The 5 of them were furious. "Then do you know who I am?" The madman slowly turned around and looked at the 5 of them with a gloomy face. "N? Madman." The 5 of them stared at him. Why did this devil incarnate come to the prison? The madman crossed his arms and said coldly, "I am the one who kicked the door. What do you want?" "No, no. Kick as much as you want, until you're satisfied. Sorry to disturb you." The 5 of them quickly waved their hands and disappeared as if they were running for their lives. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Senior Marshal Brother Frenzy's face slapping is indeed different." The madman smiled proudly. "You just said that when you came in yesterday, someone came to find trouble with you?" "And?" Qin Feiyang nodded and briefly explained the situation at that time. After listening, Hui shook his head and sighed. "I really didn't expect that after Feng Wenhai was expelled from Nine Heaven Palace, there would still be people willing to work for him." From this, it can be seen how terrifying Feng Wenhai's influence in the enforcement hall was. Mu Tianyang said. Qin Feiyang frowned. "Let's not talk about this first. How did you guys come in?" Mu Tianyang sighed. "It's a long story, let's find a place to talk." Qin Feiyang looked meaningfully at Mu Tianyang and smiled. "Then let's go to my spatial divine artifact." Clearly, Mu Tianyang didn't want to talk about some things in the prison because the walls had ears. And the spatial divine artifact Qin Feiyang mentioned wasn't the ancient castle, but the Black Tortoise world. In the depths of Nine Heaven Palace, in a courtyard, a divine power barrier enveloped the main hall. Inside the barrier, Feng Yuan sat in front of a tea table, angrily glaring at Jin Yunchang. "What are you doing? Who told you to act on your own?" Jin Yunchang asked suspiciously. "Father-in-law, isn't this a good thing?" "Good. Then tell me, what's good about it?" Feng Yuan said angrily. "Now that the 4 of them are locked in prison, isn't that good?" Jin Yunchang retorted. "But do you know that they're just ordinary prisoners? This means that Shangguan Fenglan doesn't believe that they killed Xingli. Shangguan Fenglan will definitely investigate to the end." Feng Yuan said. Jin Yunchang smiled and said, "Father-in-law, don't worry, we did it very cleanly. Shangguan Fenglan definitely won't be able to find out." "You're still proud? Do you know what the consequences will be if it's found out that Xingli was killed by you and Yu Zijie?" "You don't know? Then this old man will tell you. Yu Zijie is the disciple of the second elder. Even if the matter is exposed, the second elder will find a way to protect him." "What about you? Who will protect you?" "This old man's position in Nine Heaven Palace is not as high as the second elder, so I definitely won't be able to protect you. At that time, you will be the scapegoat." Feng Yuan shouted. "What about my son? Are you going to let him die in vain? He's also your grandson." "Father-in-law, to tell you the truth, ever since he died, I've been thinking about avenging him. This time I finally found an opportunity. How can I let it go like this?" Jin Yunchang said bitterly. Hearing this, Feng Yuan fell silent. "Father, in fact, this matter was planned by me. It has little to do with Yunchang." But suddenly, a woman's voice rang out. Following closely, A purple-clothed woman appeared out of thin air in the enchantment, standing beside Jin Yunchang, and bowing to Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan was taken aback, hurriedly got up, and said in surprise, "When did you come out of seclusion?" "A few days ago." The woman said. "That's right." This person was Feng Zihan and Feng Zijuan's mother, the law enforcement hall elder, Yin Hui. "A few days ago?" Feng Yuan was slightly taken aback, and said suspiciously, "Since you came out of seclusion, why didn't you tell this old man?" "The news of me coming out was deliberately concealed, because I didn't want to attract the attention of Jiang Haotian and the others, and I wanted to investigate one thing." Yin Hui respectfully replied. "What is it?" Feng Yuan asked. Yin Hui's eyes flashed with a cold light, and said in a deep voice, "Who killed Zijuan?" Feng Yuan asked, "Then did you find out?" "Yes." Yin Hui nodded. Chapter 2133. Who? Feng Yuan asked. His old eyes flashed with killing intent. Jiang Haotian. Yin Hui enunciated each word. "What? It's really him." Feng Yuan was stunned and hurriedly said, "Do you have evidence?" "Yes." Yin Hui nodded. "Quickly show it to this old man." Feng Yuan was impatient. He had long suspected Qin Feiyang, but because there was no evidence, he could only put this matter aside. "Father, don't be anxious. I still have something to do. When this matter is done, I will tell the truth in front of the great elder. At that time, Jiang Haotian will definitely die." Yin Hui said. "All right then." Feng Yuan nodded, pondered for a while, and said, "But Mu Tianyang, I've heard about Mu Tianyang's relationship with you from Yunchang, but he's just a subordinate, it doesn't matter if he dies. Moreover, Zijuan's death is also related to him." Yin Hui said. "It's also related to him?" Feng Yuan was surprised. "Damn it. Then all the more we can't let him go. Actually, to tell you the truth, this old man originally planned to kill him immediately after eliminating Jiang Haotian. This time, Mu Tianyang also gave this old man an idea, saying that we should bring Jiang Haotian and Hui Yi into the Sky Dragon Sea. This way, there will be a lot of opportunities to kill them. But now it seems that there's no need for that. However, this old man is very concerned about the blood blade in Mu Tianyang's hand. If there's a chance, we must get it." Feng Yuan said. Prison. Inside the Black Tortoise Realm. Qin Feiyang's group of 4 sat around a stone table in the courtyard. "Yu Zijie and Jin Yunchang again?" Qin Feiyang frowned after listening to Mu Tianyang's story. Mu Tianyang said, "You also guessed that Jin Yunchang was involved in this matter?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. He looked at Mu Tianyang and said, "Aren't you with Feng Yuan now?" "Does this have anything to do with Feng Yuan?" "I haven't heard him mention it at all. However, since Jin Yunchang is involved, this matter must have something to do with him." Mu Tianyang said. Hui Yi smiled and said, "It seems like Feng Yuan doesn't truly trust you. I don't know if he trusts me or not. But why do I feel like there's something fishy about this?" Mu Tianyang frowned. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang and Hui Yi looked at him suspiciously. "A few days ago, I gave Feng Yuan the idea to go to the Heavenly Dragon Sea and eliminate you all on the way there. Logically, he shouldn't have attacked you all at a time like this." Mu Tianyang said. Hui Yi pondered for a moment and said, "Could it be that he changed his mind at the last moment?" Mu Tianyang rubbed his forehead and sighed, "Maybe. No matter what, we can't let our guard down this time. Because we don't know what Feng Yuan and Yu Zijie are planning. Also, Yu Zijie blatantly came to frame us. Could it be related to the second elder?" Qin Feiyang said. Second elder. When Hui Yi and Mu Tianyang heard this, their hearts became heavy. If it was really related to the second elder, then this matter would not be ordinary trouble. "I didn't expect it." You guys actually did so many things behind my back, especially you, Mu Tianyang, you actually lurked around Feng Yuan. At this time, Madman, who had not spoken all this time, looked at the three of them and said. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other and smiled. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Senior brother Madman, take us to your spatial divine object for a stroll? Madman was slightly taken aback, shook his head and said, there's nothing to stroll around. Qin Feiyang said, is there nothing to stroll around, or do you not want us to go in? Why do you talk so much nonsense? Madman glared at Qin Feiyang, stood up and scanned the Black Tortoise realm, and said, I'll take a good stroll around your spatial divine object first. Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank. With a wave of his hand, he brought the three of them out of the Black Tortoise realm and appeared in the prison. Madman immediately glared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, there's nothing to stroll around in my spatial divine object. Lotus Lake. A black-haired old man appeared out of thin air and hurriedly entered the pavilion. Inside the pavilion, Shangguan Fenglan sat alone at the coffee table with her head lowered and a frown on her face. She didn't even notice the black-haired old man walking in front of her. The black-haired old man frowned and said, Fenglan. Shangguan Fenglan shuddered and hurriedly raised her head to look at the old man. Then, she immediately stood up and bowed, Greetings, Great Elder. The Great Elder sat opposite Shangguan Fenglan and asked, Are you worried about Jiang Haotian and the others? Shangguan Fenglan nodded. This old man is also here for this matter. Did they kill Qingli or not? The Great Elder frowned. No. You also know Madman's personality. Although he is arrogant and domineering, he still has a sense of propriety. And Madman also said that it was Yu Zijia and Jin Yunchang who worked together to frame them. Shangguan Fenglan said. Then do you believe it? The Great Elder asked. Of course I believe it, and I have already sent my confidants to secretly follow the two of them. I just don't know if they can find evidence. Shangguan Fenglan said. No matter what, this matter must be investigated clearly. If it was really Yu Zijia and Jin Yunchang who framed them, then even if Feng Yuan and Second Elder plead for them, this old man will not let them off. The Great Elder said solemnly. Shangguan Fenglan said with a smile, It seems that you still care about Madman. Sigh. After all, for so many years, he is like this old man's grandson. Now that something has happened to him, how can this old man not worry? The Great Elder sighed. Duh. Before the Great Elder's voice fell, accompanied by a series of footsteps, a black-clothed man walked in. Seeing that the Great Elder was also here, the black-clothed man was stunned, then quickly bowed and said, Greetings, Great Elder. The Great Elder nodded. How is it? Shangguan Fenglan looked at the black-clothed man and asked. The black-clothed man shook his head and said, Since Yu Zijia left the St. Peak, this subordinate has been secretly following him, but from beginning to end, he has never mentioned anything about framing Madman and the others. Shangguan Fenglan frowned and said, I didn't expect this child to be so cautious. Yu Zijia is a shrewd person, how could he let us easily catch him? The Great Elder shook his head and asked, What about Jin Yunchang? This subordinate is not sure. Because Jin Yunchang was followed by Wang Yun. The black-clothed man shook his head. Before his voice fell, another black-clothed woman hurriedly walked in. This woman was Wang Yun. Shangguan Fenglan hurriedly said, Wang Yun, how is it? Wang Yun bowed to the Great Elder and said, Jin Yunchang went to see Feng Yuan, and this subordinate also saw a person. Who? Shangguan Fenglan asked. Yin Hui. Wang Yun said. Yin Hui? Isn't she cultivating in seclusion? Shangguan Fenglan was surprised. I'm not sure either. Feng Yuan set up a divine force barrier, I can't hear what they are saying. But there is one thing that is very strange. Before Yin Hui appeared, Feng Yuan seemed to be a little angry, as if he was scolding Jin Yunchang. But after Yin Hui appeared, Feng Yuan's attitude changed. In the end, they even talked and laughed. Wang Yun said, "Yin Hui, Feng Yuan, could it be that this matter is related to Yin Hui?" The Great Elder frowned. "Great Elder, why don't we use your method of astronomical phenomena to monitor them?" Shengguan Fenglan suggested. "It's useless. Because what you can think of, they can also think of, so they will definitely prevent this old man from spying. And the divine force barrier set up by Feng Yuan is the best proof." The Great Elder shook his head. "Then what should we do?" Shengguan Fenglan raised her eyebrows. Wang Yun said, "Great Elder, Hall Master, why don't we capture Jin Yunchang?" Jin Fatso was killed by Jiang Haotian. Jin Yunchang hates Jiang Haotian to the bone. I'm afraid that even if we torture him, he won't tell the truth. And Yu Zijie is even more so. Before we have evidence, if we make a move on him, I'm afraid that before the interrogation begins, the second elder will already come to our door." Shengguan Fenglan sighed. Wang Yun nodded, it made sense. Shengguan Fenglan pondered for a while. She looked at the first elder and said, "First elder, I think we should bide our time on this matter because they will definitely have a next step in their plan. When the time comes, we will deal with them." "All right." The Great Elder nodded. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. To Shengguan Fenglan's surprise, Feng Yuan, Jin Yunchang, Yin Hui, and Yu Zijie didn't do anything these 2 days. However, the disciples of the sect, as well as the people outside of the sect, were discussing these two matters. How is it possible? Jiang Haotian is such a kind person, why would he do such a thing? Could it be that he was pretending to do all those things in the past, deliberately doing it for us to see? Pretending? I don't believe it, there must be something fishy about this. Yes, I don't believe it either. Even if Yu Zijie has evidence, even if they caught him in the act, it doesn't mean that this matter is true. Moreover, based on the video released by Yu Zijie, those 4 people do deserve to die. That's right. At first, they agreed to 400,000 soul stones, but in the end, they went back on their word and changed it to 4 million, and Jiang Haotian also agreed. But in the end, when they saw that Jiang Haotian was easy to bully, they actually asked for 100 million soul stones each. If it were me, I would also want to kill. Besides, it's just a private transaction with others, what's so strange about it? Can you guarantee that no one else in the resource hall has done such a thing? It's just that no one knows. In short, we can't just say that Jiang Haotian is a hypocrite based on this matter. Some people had always trusted Qin Feiyang and exonerated Qin Feiyang. But there were also people who talked behind his back, saying that Qin Feiyang was a hypocrite. In short, there were people saying all kinds of things. The most worried person was Shengguan Qiu. One had to know that in the entire North region, only Qin Feiyang and Mu Tianyang knew how to refine the 9 Chu Yellow Dragon Pill, 9 Transformation Dragon Blood Pill, and 4 Symbols Infinite Divine Pill. But now, both of them were locked up in prison. If there were any accidents, then no one would be able to refine these pills in the future, right? She had also asked the Vice Pavilion Master and the Pavilion Master about this matter. But whether it was the Pavilion Master or the Vice Pavilion Master, they all had the attitude of waiting and watching. Because this was an internal matter of Empyrean Palace, they couldn't interfere. Chapter 2134. Another 3 days passed. In other words, 5 days had passed since the incident. This morning, a purple-clothed young man came to the prison. In the prison, Qin Feiyang and the other 3 were not as worried as everyone imagined. In the middle of the cell, there was a large iron pot. Below it, a cluster of third-grade alchemy fire burned the bottom of the pot red. In the big pot, there was a pot of fragrant meat stewing. Qin Feiyang and the other 3 sat around the iron pot, eating meat and drinking wine while chatting happily. The entire prison was filled with the rich aroma of meat and wine. The meat and wine, the big iron pot, and the alchemy fire were naturally found by Qin Feiyang from the Black Tortoise world. The Black Tortoise world was an independent world. As for this suggestion, it was proposed by the madman. Anyway, it was boring to stay here, so it was better to drink wine and eat meat. In other words, in the past 5 days, they had been eating, drinking, and playing. Qin Feiyang was not in the mood to do so, because he wanted to cultivate. But the madman had been watching him, so he could not go to the castle, so he could only play with the other 3. The enforcers in the prison were all dumbfounded, because it was the first time they saw someone who was still in the mood to eat meat and drink wine after entering the prison. Boom! The prison's stone door opened. The purple-clothed young man walked in and immediately smelled the fragrance of meat and wine. What's going on? The purple-clothed young man was a little stunned. He followed the fragrance of meat and wine, and when he saw the situation of Qin Feiyang and the other 3, he was immediately stunned at the door. What the hell? Are they really here to stay in the prison? Qin Feiyang and the other 3 also noticed the purple-clothed young man and were slightly stunned. Then, Qin Feiyang stood up, looked at the purple-clothed young man, and asked with a smile, Gongzi Feng, why are you here? I'm here to see you, Gongzi Feng answered instinctively, but before he finished, he frowned and said, wait, what's going on? Isn't it obvious? We're drinking wine and eating meat. Hua Yi grinned. Gongzi Feng was a little stunned. How could there be preferential treatment in this prison? These fellows were too arrogant. Where did they place the enforcers in the prison? Since you're here, let's go together. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, took out a stool, and placed it at the side. That's not a good idea. Gongzi Feng was somewhat hesitant. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, Senior Brother Crazy is here. Don't be afraid. Gongzi Feng glanced at the madman, then looked at Mu Tianyang and Hua Yi. He clenched his teeth and said, Fine, I'll accompany you in your madness. As he spoke, he walked to Qin Feiyang's side and sat down on a stool. Then, he picked up the wine pot beside him and took a big gulp. Madman glanced at Gongzi Feng and sent a voice transmission. Kid, you're acquainted with this person? Yes. In the past, he contributed a lot in dealing with Feng Wenhai and Feng Yuan. Qin Feiyang thought. Ugh. Madman was stunned. Mu Tianyang asked, Gongzi Feng, are you really here to visit us? Not really. Gongzi Feng shook his head and looked outside the door. He asked in a low voice, is it convenient to talk here? Qin Feiyang and the other 3 looked at each other. Madman waved his hand and set up a divine power barrier. He looked at Gongzi Feng and said, Speak now. Gongzi Feng took another sip from the wine pot and said in a deep voice, Actually, all of this is Yu Zijia and Jin Yinchang's plan. It seems that you're here to tip them off. But we've already guessed what you said. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Guessed? Gongzi Feng was stunned and shook his head with a smile. That's right. With your brains, you should be able to think of this. Qin Feiyang said, although we can think of this, there are still many doubts in our hearts. Can you answer us? This matter isn't as simple as you think. Yesterday, I asked Jin Yinchang to go to the Yulan Pavilion and drank with him until midnight. I believe that you've already guessed that I asked him to drink with me to get information from him. Although Jin Yinchang is my uncle, he usually ignores me. At first, he didn't mention a single word about this matter. However, under my fawning and currying favor with him, coupled with the effects of alcohol, he finally revealed everything. The real mastermind of this matter is actually Yin Hui. Gongzi Feng said. Yin Hui? Qin Feiyang and the other 3 looked at each other. Some time ago, she already came out of seclusion, but she didn't say anything. She has been secretly investigating the cause of Feng Zijuan's death and plotting how to get rid of you. Gongzi Feng said in a deep voice. Madman frowned and said, I didn't expect that woman to be so shrewd. Quite terrifying. And I heard that she has already found evidence of Feng Zijuan's death. Gongzi Feng said. That's not scary, right? Only the few of us know about this matter. Even senior brother Madman doesn't know. Qin Feiyang frowned. What? You killed Feng Zijuan? Madman was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Madman said, in that case, you were also the one who extorted White Tiger's blood essence? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded again. Fuck, I just took office, and you're already causing trouble for me. Do you believe that I won't destroy you? Madman said angrily. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and looked at Gong Zifeng. Are you sure that Yin Hui has already found evidence? Jin Yunchang said so. I'm not sure whether it's true or not. Gong Zifeng shook his head, his face full of worry. Because he was the one who killed Feng Zijuan. Even if they find out, you don't have to worry. Because according to the current situation, they don't know that you are also involved. Otherwise, Jin Yunchang wouldn't have gone drinking with you. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Gong Zifeng was stunned and said, that makes sense, but we still can't be careless. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, then how did they set up the trap? And that Yuzijia, how did he know that the four of them would come to my cave abode at night to trade with me for the dragon god's flower? This is Yin Hui's trap. Yin Hui gave them the dragon god's flower. Because she found out that you are an alchemist and might be interested in the dragon god's flower, so she asked the four of them to bring the dragon god's flower to the resource hall. Of course, at first, she wasn't completely confident that you would take the bait. But she didn't expect that you would really take the bait. Then, she carried out her plan. First, she found Yuzijia. Because of senior brother Madman, Yuzijia held a grudge against you. After hearing Yin Hui's plan, he agreed without a second thought. Then, she found Jin Yunchang. You killed Fatso Jin, so it was even more impossible for Jin Yunchang to refuse. Then, what happened next happened. Gong Zifeng said. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. Hua Yi said unhappily, Brother Jiang, look, it's all your fault. If you didn't have any ideas about the dragon god's flower, none of this shit would have happened. You can't blame Brother Jiang for this. Even if the bait of the dragon god's flower failed, Yin Hui would have sent out a bait that was even more tempting. It's just a pity that the four of them died unjustly. Gong Zifeng sighed. Qin Feiyang said, this is the result of being greedy. If they didn't listen to Yin Hui, would they have died? Gong Zifeng nodded, looked at the four of them, and said, that's what happened. I wonder if you have any plans now? Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said with a smile, I do have one, but it'll have to rely on you. Rely on me? Gong Zifeng was stunned. Yes. As long as you can get evidence that they framed us, then we can turn defeat into victory. Qin Feiyang said. This, I'm afraid I can't. Gong Zifeng was a little troubled. If you can ask Jin Yunchang out once, then you can ask him out a second time. As long as you record your conversation with Jin Yunchang, then it can be used as evidence. Qin Feiyang said. Gong Zifeng pondered for a while and nodded, okay, I'll give it a try, but you have to promise that you will protect my safety afterwards. Because once I take out the evidence, Feng Yuan and the others will definitely not let me go. Frenzy said domineeringly, don't worry, I'll protect you in the future. Thank you, senior brother Frenzy. Gong Zifeng hurriedly stood up and cupped his hands. With Frenzy's protection, there would definitely be no problem. Mu Tianyang held the wine pot and said with a smile, come, let's continue drinking. Gong Zifeng also held the wine pot and drank with the four of them. About an hour later. Gong Zifeng put down the wine pot and stood up with a smile, I can't stay any longer in case Yin Hui becomes suspicious. I'll go back first. Be careful. Qin Feiyang reminded. Gong Zifeng nodded and was about to leave when he suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Big brother Jiang, you know where Guiyong is, right? I know. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then where is he now? I heard from Gao Xiaolong that you're going to ask him to help me. Why haven't I seen him after so long? Gong Zifeng was suspicious. There's a change of plans. Qin Feiyang said. I see. Gong Zifeng nodded and said, then can you tell me? To be honest, I really need someone who can give me advice and advice. Guiyong is indeed smart, but he doesn't want to enter the Nine Heavens Palace now. Let's not force him. Qin Feiyang said. Gong Zifeng smiled and said, just tell me, I want to talk to him personally. Qin Feiyang hesitated and nodded, all right, he's now. But Qin Feiyang's words stopped abruptly as his eyes flickered slightly. What's wrong? Gong Zifeng looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, with us giving you advice, you don't need him anymore. Gong Zifeng said, I can't trouble you guys for everything. After all, you guys have your own things to do. Mu Tianyang transmitted his voice, Qin Feiyang, what are you doing? Isn't it just Guiyong? There's no harm in telling him. Hui Yi and Frenzy also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Something's wrong. Qin Feiyang said inwardly. What's wrong? The three of them were even more confused. Gong Zifeng and I have known each other for a long time. Why didn't he ask about Guiyong's whereabouts before? Moreover, Gao Xiaolong is a spy I placed beside him. Logically speaking, such a sensible person like Gao Xiaolong shouldn't tell Gong Zifeng that I have the idea of letting Guiyong help him. Qin Feiyang secretly said. Chapter 2135. You're saying that there's something fishy going on? Mu Tianyang was bewildered. I don't know. I just feel uneasy. I think it's better to confirm it. Qin Feiyang secretly said. He glanced at Gong Zifeng and took out an image crystal. Who should I send a message to? Mu Tianyang and the other two looked at him suspiciously. Gao Xiaolong. Qin Feiyang secretly said. It's useless. Because we can't send a message to anyone outside here. The madman transmitted. Can't send a message? Qin Feiyang frowned. Could it be that you're thinking too much? Gong Zifeng killed Feng Zijuan with his own hands. This is enough to prove his sincerity. Mu Tianyang secretly said. If it was someone else, I wouldn't be suspicious. But this person's position is unstable. I'm a little worried. Moreover, I believe that Gao Xiaolong won't easily reveal this matter to Gong Zifeng. Taking a step back, even if there's no problem with Gong Zifeng, it's best to confirm it first. After all, what we encountered this time is different from the past. If we're not careful, we might lose our lives. In short, it's never wrong to be careful. Qin Feiyang secretly said. Jiang Haotian's words make sense. This time, we suffered because of our carelessness. Otherwise, why would we stay in this damned place? The madman transmitted. That's true. Mu Tianyang secretly agreed. Gong Zifeng looked at the image crystal in Qin Feiyang's hand and asked suspiciously, Big Brother Jiang, what are you doing? Nothing. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal and looked at Gong Zifeng with a smile. We've known each other for a long time, right? Gong Zifeng nodded and smiled. We knew each other before you entered the Nine Heavens Palace. I still remember that your cultivation back then was lower than mine. But now, you've surpassed me. Yes. Time really flies. Qin Feiyang sighed. Gong Zifeng was even more confused. What was he talking about? Qin Feiyang's expression suddenly became serious. He formed a seal with both hands and a puppet seal appeared. Gong Zifeng stared at the puppet imprint in surprise and said, Big Brother Jiang, this is... Back then, when Qin Feiyang controlled Ryuko Yang, Gong Zifeng was also present, but he didn't say anything in the crowd. Thus, he knew that the mark was a kind of control-type secret art that possessed the ability to read the memories of others. Although you don't have a good relationship with the Feng family, you are still their family. You must know a lot about what they have done. And now, I need to understand this. Speak. You won't be able to finish speaking in a short time, so I want to read your memories directly. Don't worry, after reading your memories, I will immediately remove my control over you. Qin Feiyang said. When Gong Zifeng heard this, his expression changed slightly, and he retreated somewhat flustered. What happened? I don't mean you any harm. I just want to know what they did. Qin Feiyang looked at Gong Zifeng suspiciously. If you want to know all these, I can find a time to tell you everything. There is no need to read my memories. Gong Zifeng looked vigilant. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Didn't I say just now? This is more efficient. If you tell me, how long will it take? Moreover, I might forget some things. Seeing that Qin Feiyang insisted on reading his memories, the panic on Gong Zifeng's face became more obvious. Is there really something fishy? Frenzy and the other two couldn't help but frown. What's wrong with you? Isn't it just reading your memories? What are you afraid of? Could it be that you did something wrong to me, and you don't dare to let me read your memories? Qin Feiyang frowned. No. You are so good to me. How can I do something wrong to you? Gong Zifeng waved his hand repeatedly. Then what are you feeling guilty about? Hurry up. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the puppet imprint flew towards Gong Zifeng's head. Gong Zifeng hurriedly hid to the side and said with a smile, Next time. I still have something to do and have to go out immediately. Senior Brother Frenzy, please remove the divine power barrier. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light as he nodded to Frenzy. Boom! Frenzy released his pressure and directly imprisoned Gong Zifeng. The puppet imprint immediately entered Gong Zifeng's head like a stream of light. Gong Zifeng immediately held his head and howled miserably. What are you doing? But at this moment, an old voice exploded in the prison like a thunderclap. Following that, an old man appeared outside the barrier. It was Elder Yun. Elder Yun waved his hand and the barrier set up by Frenzy instantly shattered. But at the same time, Qin Feiyang brought Frenzy and the other two and disappeared without a trace. Elder Yun scanned the empty prison and couldn't help but frown. Black Tortoise World. Above the medicine field. Hui frowned and said, Senior Brother Frenzy, didn't you use a barrier to isolate it? Why can that old man still see it? Frenzy said, the barrier can only have the effect of soundproofing. So it's like that. Hui nodded. In other words, although Elder Yun couldn't hear what they were saying, he could see what they were doing. Immediately after, the three of them looked at Qin Feiyang and Gong Zifeng. Gong Zifeng's face was filled with pain as he felt as if his soul was being torn apart. And Qin Feiyang's face gradually darkened. Seeing this, Mu Tianyang frowned and said, It seems that there really is a problem with this person. Hui smiled and said, If that's the case, then Brother Jiang will probably be angry. Qin Feiyang's kindness to Gong Zifeng was obvious to all. If Gong Zifeng really did something to betray them, then it would be chilling. Boom! A moment later, a terrifying killing intent suddenly rushed out from Qin Feiyang's body. The pain on Gong Zifeng's face also disappeared. But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, he was drowned by the killing intent again. His body and mind trembled, and his whole body was cold. What's wrong? Mu Tianyang and the other two looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, His purpose of coming to the prison this time is actually to get Guyong's whereabouts from my mouth. N? The three of them frowned. And all of this was ordered by Yin Hui. And Gao Xiaolong is already dead. Qin Feiyang said. Who killed him? Hui's face changed. It's him. Qin Feiyang pointed at Gong Zifeng. Damn it. Hui's eyes were gloomy. Qin Feiyang sighed and said, I knew it, Gao Xiaolong wouldn't talk too much. It turns out that he was forced to do so. In fact, he already knew that Gao Xiaolong was a spy that I planted beside him, so he killed him. Mu Tianyang said, in other words, Gongzi Feng really betrayed you? And Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Gongzi Feng, asking, what else do you want to say? At this moment, Gongzi Feng was like a pile of mud, paralyzed in the void, despair written all over his face. He turned a deaf ear to Qin Feiyang's words. Mu Tianyang frowned and said, what's going on? Quickly tell us. Who? Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and moved his gaze away from Gongzi Feng. He looked at the three of them and said, Feng Wenhai was expelled from the Nine Heavens Palace, and Feng Zijuan was killed. Feng Yuan and the others hid it from Yin Hui because they didn't want to disturb her cultivation. When she came out of seclusion and found out about these things, she was furious. However, this woman is extremely shrewd. She suppressed her anger in her heart and secretly investigated everything. But because we did it cleanly, she couldn't find any clues. She was even prepared to give up. At the same time, Feng Zijuan's death made her very tired, but she also opened up a lot and wanted to accept Gongzi Feng. So, she found Gongzi Feng and said that she wanted to give his mother a status and that he would be her son in the future. She did this because she considered the issue of carrying on the family line. After all, Gongzi Feng is the only male in the Feng family. When Gongzi Feng heard this, he was naturally very happy. When Qin Feiyang said this, Madman frowned and said, so he betrayed us? It's not that simple. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Madman was stunned and asked suspiciously, what do you mean? Qin Feiyang looked at Gongzi Feng and sighed, to be honest, I've always underestimated this person. Madman and the others looked at each other and were even more confused. When he heard that Yin Hui wanted to help his mother and treat him as her son, he was overjoyed. However, he suddenly thought of the real cause of Feng Zijuan's death. Feng Zijuan died in his hands. Once this matter is exposed, what will the consequences be? This was a question that he didn't even dare to think about. After thinking about it again and again, he finally thought of a bold plan to silence us. Qin Feiyang said. Silence us? The three raised their eyebrows. Yes. The target of silence is naturally us. Because I saw him kill Feng Zijuan with my own eyes. And although you guys weren't present at the time, you have a good relationship with me, so you definitely know about this. So, he wants to get rid of all of us. First, he took the initiative to find Yin Hui and tell her that Feng Zijuan was killed by us. Second, he set up a trap to put us in prison. This is to pave the way for the third step. The third step is to enter the prison and use his relationship with us to find out Guyong's whereabouts. Because Guyong has a good relationship with me, he was worried that Guyong would know that he killed Feng Zijuan, so he wanted to silence him as well. And the fourth step is to enter the meeting hall and say the cause of Feng Zijuan's death in front of the big shots, completely ending our lives. Qin Feiyang said. I'll go. These steps are one after another, and they are all linked together. It can be said to be flawless. I really didn't know that he was such a terrifying schemer before. Mu Tianyang and the other two were shocked. Qin Feiyang said with a wry smile, not to mention you guys, even I didn't see it before. Mu Tianyang asked, then what did he say to Yin Hui? He told Yin Hui. On the night of Feng Zijuan's death, he had something to say to Feng Zijuan, and then he happened to see me killing Feng Zijuan. Yin Hui was already very angry about Feng Zijuan's death, so he didn't have to deliberately create a false impression. Yin Hui would believe any excuse he made up. Qin Feiyang said. Indeed. However, since young Master Feng said that he saw you kill Feng Zijuan, he has been hiding it in his heart all this time and didn't say it out loud. Didn't Yin Hui get angry? Mu Tianyang said. Yin Hui also asked him why he didn't say it earlier. Young Master Feng is smart. He said that he was afraid that I would take revenge on him, so he didn't dare to say it. Qin Feiyang said. Chapter 2136. Mu Tianyang looked at Gong Zifeng, who was paralyzed in the air, and said in admiration, "You can even think of such a plan. You're really good at hiding your strength. I really thought that all of this was planned by Yin Hui. It turns out that the person behind the scenes is you. Awesome." Madman also gave Gong Zifeng a thumbs up. Facing such praise, Gong Zifeng couldn't feel happy at all. His heart was filled with fear. Hui Yi shook his head and said regretfully, "It's a pity that you met a stronger opponent. Otherwise, your plan would have succeeded." Gong Zifeng's body trembled. He raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Big brother Jiang, I also have a lot of helplessness. Is this your excuse for betraying us? Helplessness? Who doesn't have helplessness in this world?" Qin Feiyang said angrily. Gong Zifeng lowered his head again. He was extremely ashamed. "From the beginning, you took the initiative to find me and ask for my help. What about me? During the time I helped you, did I ask for any conditions? I don't think so. I really treated you as a friend because we both had the same miserable experience. But how did you repay me?" Qin Feiyang shouted. This was the first time he was so angry after entering the ancient world. Even when facing Feng Wenhai's trap and Guo Zixiong's deceit, he wasn't this angry. "I'm sorry," Gong Zifeng mumbled. "Can an apology make up for your betrayal? You've really disappointed me. Back then, I was blind to choose to help you. But it doesn't matter now." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Gong Zifeng shivered and hurriedly said, "Don't kill me, don't kill me, I beg you. Even if he doesn't kill you, I will kill you today. You even dared to scheme against me. You really have the guts of a leopard." Madman grinned. Gong Zifeng said, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I just wanted to give my mother a status." "You're still trying to gain sympathy? If you just want to give your mother a status, Yin Hui has already agreed to it. Then why did you still set up a trap to harm us? Your goal is not only to give your mother a status, but also yourself. You don't want to lose everything Yin Hui has given you. In other words, you're an ungrateful, treacherous, despicable man." Mu Tianyang snorted coldly. Gong Zifeng's body trembled. "What are you talking about?" Madman sneered, rolled up his sleeves, and said, "Today, I'll definitely let you taste what it means to be in so much pain that you wish you were dead." "No, I beg you," Gong Zifeng hurriedly shook his head in fear. Qin Feiyang sighed and stopped Madman. "Don't kill him yet." "What? You can still tolerate it?" Madman raised his eyebrows. "It's not that I can tolerate it. It's because we still have to rely on him to break out of this situation," Qin Feiyang said. "Count on him?" Madman frowned. "Qin Feiyang nodded, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "This time, I won't show mercy. Yin Hui and Jin Yunchang have to die, and Yu Zijie too. I won't let him have an easy time." When Gong Zifeng heard this, a chill appeared in his heart. "As for you," Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at Gong Zifeng. "As long as you cooperate well, I'll choose to let you live. But remember, there's only one chance." "Okay." Gong Zifeng hurriedly nodded. After a while, Qin Feiyang's group of 4 and Gong Zifeng finally came out of the Black Tortoise world. Elder Yun had been standing outside the door. When he saw them appear, he sized up Gong Zifeng, then looked at Qin Feiyang's group of 4, and frowned. "What did you do to him?" "We didn't do anything. It's just an old friend gathering, and we don't want to be disturbed. Gong Zifeng, am I right?" Madman put his arm around Gong Zifeng's shoulder and smiled. "Yes, yes, yes." Gong Zifeng nodded repeatedly. Elder Yun glanced at Madman, then looked at Qin Feiyang's group of 3, then looked at Gong Zifeng and said, "If there's nothing else, then leave." "Okay." Gong Zifeng replied and cupped his hands at Qin Feiyang's group of 4, "Then I'll go back first." The four of them nodded with a smile on their faces. It was as if the previous incident had never happened. Gong Zifeng turned around and left. Elder Yun also prepared to leave. Qin Feiyang suddenly spoke and looked at Elder Yun. "Old senior, please wait for a moment." Elder Yun was stunned and turned around to look at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, then cupped his hands and smiled. "I have to thank senior for the previous incident. Otherwise, I would have been in trouble by now." Elder Yun said coldly, "I was just handling it impartially. There's no need to thank me. Old senior is noble and selfless. This junior admires you. This junior also hopes that old senior can continue to carry on and be a good example for us juniors." Qin Feiyang smiled. Elder Yun squinted his eyes. These words weren't simple. Qin Feiyang continued, "We, the younger generation disciples, also need an example. Don't worry. I have always stood on the side of justice. I won't side with anyone. Even if my disciple makes a mistake, I won't let it go." After saying that, Elder Yun turned around and left without looking back. Mu Tianyang glanced at Elder Yun's back, then looked at Madman and said, "Can this old man's character be trusted?" "Yes. In this 9-heaven palace, I only admire two people. The first is this old man." Madman smiled confidently. "What about the other person?" Qin Feiyang's group of three was curious. Someone that Madman admired definitely wasn't simple. Madman said, "You've all seen him before. He's the old man guarding the stairway." "So it's him." The three of them were enlightened. Qin Feiyang said, "Speaking of which, what's the identity of that old man? How strong is he?" "His identity, his strength," Madman pondered for a moment and said, "You just need to know that he is Shengguan Fenglan's master." "What? Shengguan Fenglan's master?" Qin Feiyang's group of three was dumbfounded. This was too shocking. "Don't think about it. Let's go and continue drinking and eating meat. Drinking and eating meat in this prison has a different flavor." Madman chuckled. Qin Feiyang's group of three looked at each other and smiled. Indeed. Drinking and eating meat here and in a restaurant were two completely different feelings. Outside. Lotus Lake. A purple-clothed youth entered the pavilion. When Shengguan Fenglan saw the purple-clothed youth, she was slightly stunned and said, "What are you doing here?" "Greetings, Palace Lord." The purple-clothed youth bowed and said, "Jiang Haotian and senior brother Madman told me to tell you that you don't need to interfere. They have already thought of a countermeasure." "Is that so?" Shengguan Fenglan was surprised. "Yes. They said that you just need to wait and watch a good show." The purple-clothed youth said. "Okay." Shengguan Fenglan nodded. The purple-clothed youth said, "Then this disciple will take his leave first. Go." Shengguan Fenglan waved her hand. The purple-clothed youth turned and walked out of the pavilion. Looking at the clear sky, he sighed, "I'm still inferior to him in the end." With that, he soared into the sky and disappeared like lightning. This person was Gong Zifeng. After leaving Lotus Lake, he did not directly return to the inner sect. Instead, he flew in another direction. Not long after, he landed in front of a courtyard, looked up at the courtyard, took a deep breath, and then pushed the door open and walked in. In the hall, a woman sat beside the tea table. It was Yin Hui. Seeing Gong Zifeng come in, she hurriedly stood up, condensed a divine power barrier, and asked, "How is it?" Gong Zifeng said, "Guiyong is dead." "Dead?" Yin Hui frowned. "Yes." Gong Zifeng nodded and said, "At first, Jiang Haotian was very vigilant, but when I told him about your plan, I finally gained his trust. He told me that he killed Guiyong after Lord Father was expelled from 9 Heavens Palace." "Why did he want Guiyong?" "Guiyong has followed your grandfather for so many years, and he has a lot of information on your grandfather. He's a good chess piece." Yin Hui was suspicious. According to Jiang Haotian, he wanted to keep Guyong alive, but not only did Guyong not cooperate, he even escaped. In a fit of anger, Jiang Haotian used a soul secret technique called the enslavement seal to erase Guyong's divine soul. Gong Zifeng said. Yin Hui said, in that case, there's no need to consider Guyong anymore? Yes. Although I couldn't kill him with my own hands to avenge Lord Father, at least for now, there's one less worry. Gong Zifeng said. Yes. Yin Hui nodded, pondered for a moment, and said, then let's prepare for the next step. Okay. Let's do it tomorrow morning. Go to the conference hall first and gather all the big shots. Then I'll appear and announce the evil deeds that Jiang Haotian has done. At that time, even the gods won't be able to save him. Gong Zifeng sneered. Yin Hui said with a smile, after we get rid of this kid, I'll immediately give you the status of mother. Thank you. Gong Zifeng was overjoyed. Yin Hui said, we're all family. Why are you saying this? Family. Gong Zifeng muttered. His face was full of self-blame, and he said, I should have stood out and told everyone about Jiang Haotian's crimes the moment second brother was killed. It's all because of my cowardice. Auntie, I'm really sorry. Don't blame yourself. After all, Jiang Haotian is indeed a great threat to you. Actually, it's also our fault. If we weren't prejudiced against you, if we cared a little more about you and took care of you a little more, you wouldn't be so afraid of Jiang Haotian. Yin Hui sighed. Thank you for your understanding, Auntie. Gong Zifeng lowered his head and said. Yin Hui waved her hand and said with a smile, go and have a good rest. Prepare for tomorrow. As she spoke, she dispersed the divine power barrier. Okay. This child will take his leave. Gong Zifeng nodded, bowed respectfully, and turned to leave the courtyard. Jiang Haotian, tomorrow, you'll be buried with my child. Cherish what little time you have left. Yin Hui murmured, picked up the teacup, and took a sip. Her eyes flashed with a strong cold light. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.